All right. Thank you very much, Aman, Anshul and Arunima. Of course, we're going to keep coming back to you. But for now, I'm going to just go across to our special guest this evening who are actually going to put that entire incident into perspective. I'm being joined by Major Manik Jolly and also Shashikant. He's a former IPS and a security expert. Thank you very much for joining us on CNN News 18 this evening. Shashikant, I really want to ask you this question, which is what we were discussing a short while back. Is that a change? I would not say an immediate change. This has been happening and this has been a worrying sign. That, there was once a perception that those who are being lured into terror activities are those who are unemployed, uneducated, so they don't know what is happening. But in this case, the investigation on the probe is revealing that they are qualified doctors. They are those urban areas terrorists. This change in module, how do you shift, do you look at it?
You're absolutely right, ma'am. Right on dot. This is a massive change and a very serious change that has come in. Earlier, it used to be semi-literate persons or persons who could be really brainwashed. Where here we have doctors, highly educated, who are committed to work for the humanity, for the upliftment for the humanity. They're getting into this thing. That shows the amount of motivation through these psychological means. I'm sure when the agencies go deep into it, they'll find there certainly certain psychological tools or must have been employed to brainwash these persons. They are highly educated persons who got into this particular thing, that trying to destroy the unity of the nation and try to indulge in the terrorist activities all over. And again, you very rightly mentioned 2,900 kilograms of ammonium nitrate, that means, and I'm sure there must have been lost for the persons who were at large, and probably they wanted to indulge in several incidents all over the country in different places. That's why there was such a major haul of the explosive devices, remote control things, etc. And again, like you said, like we talk of urban Naxalism, that kind of thing which is coming up is penetrating into the urban society. Highly educated, supposedly sophisticated persons, educated persons, highly educated persons, motivated persons. Doctors are a motivated lot. They've joined this profession for the upliftment of the humanity, to serve the persons who really just want their services, want their help to come out and live again. These kind of persons indulging to this thing, again I say, it's a very, very serious matter. And again, the psychological tricks which might have been employed by the handlers sitting wherever they are, most probably I'm sure they are sitting in Pakistan, because the lady who has been arrested, she was heading the ladies wing of Jash in India. That clearly shows that some linkages are there, but I'm again surprised, and I'm sure I have worked in agencies for decades now, so I'm sure that we all were taken aback. Hey, what's happening? And it's such a kind of destructive mentality that has creeped into these gentlemen doctors, these persons who are the really flag bearers of humanism. It's indeed a very serious matter, and I think only the Cabinet Committee on the Security, which is going to meet very soon, I'm sure it's a serious matter. That shows the government is serious, the Prime Minister is serious, Home Minister is serious, the entire country is serious about it, and I'm sure that particular meeting is going to send very strict and strong signals to such rogue elements who are trying to disrupt our social fabric of the nation. Thank you.
Okay. Major Jolly, I just want to ask you this question, that remember Operation Sindoor was never ended. It was just on pause, and the Prime Minister has repeatedly made a mention of it, even the Defence as well as the Home Minister, because we are also conveying a message to Pakistan that you have to be on guard. Don't think that you're going to get away so easily. Today, as we look at the Red Fort blast, which could have actually been worse, and while the probe is still going on, Major, to figure out whether there was something bigger planned ahead, the army obviously is always well prepared, but you expect from the CCS, and I don't expect it to come out very openly because CCS doesn't come out with any kind of a briefing, but do you expect that the government has already sent out that message, will be sending out that message, that India is always ready. India is always ready to take on Pakistan as well as the terrorists?
Yeah, good evening, Pallavi. See, the thing is that first coming to the CCS part, once you have CCS headed by the PM, it means he's the leader of the gang. You will come up with options to him, the Home Minister, the Defence Minister, the NSA. and more or less the investigation is concluded. That is when you take it to the PM. We may not know, but fine, they are chasing the cars and they're chasing the OGWs, but they would have established this is where we are, this is what we can do, these are the options available. And as far as sorting out Pakistan is concerned, I think we all tend to divert towards kinetic action, that is a war or a surgical strike, everything. But there are other means also. Act of war also technically does not imply only when you are firing guns or your jets take off. Let's say abeyance of the the Indus Water Treaty was also act of war. It's a traditional siege warfare thing. So how PM tends to go ahead with this will be his call. Moreover, when he said that every act of terror will be taken as a war, it means we will also deploy all resources possible, all means possible at our end to answer that very emphatically and in a solid manner. It means the options are available. Which one they go with is going to be, of course, PM's call. The surprise, which is the biggest, which is the backbone of a successful military operation, is kind of lost here. We have made the announcement, Op Sindoor is on, the troops are deployed, they know what we can do. So kind of it'll be a very challenging option if we go for the military option at this stage. However, what they do is for everyone to see. And I'd just like to add one thing on the question you asked, sir, here, that on the radicalization. See, the radicalization goes on for years and decades. It does not happen that, okay, here are some doctors, let's try and radicalize them. What they do is they identify the right candidates and then see where they go, or even push them to become a doctor or engineer. The OGW since 90s have always been influential professionals. They've been bureaucrats, they've been police, they've been doctors, engineers, everybody, journalists who've been in the society and then run these networks. It's the foot soldiers that we identify as terrorists, but these are the guys who've always been in prominent positions to run these networks and support the terrorism in that country. So it should not come as a surprise that these guys are doctors. Even if you look at the posts by students, Indian students, foreign university, Indian students here, you'll see that the radicalization mind is ready, but then these guys are approached and they're taken on and trained and supported.
Okay, I'm just going to come back to the two of you because we still have some breaking news coming in, and I can see the cars have begun to come in slowly. So countdown begins for the cabinet meeting to begin in another 15 minutes time. But before that, Anvit has some news coming in, and well, what we are learning and what Anvit has been reporting is that Umar Mohammed used a fake address to purchase the Ecosport car. He provided the address of a house in Northeast Delhi to purchase the car. The Delhi police has raided that address in Northeast Delhi late last night. So Anvit is now joining us live. Anvit, the car and the missing cars is something which the focus of the investigation has been on. What more can you get for us?
Yes, and the person of interest remains to be Umar Nabi, who is the person suspected to have been driving the vehicle, the very I-20 that was detonated right in front of Red Fort. And now what we are learning is that he had bought that car on an address, on a fake address. He had given fake address proofs, and that address belongs to Northeast Delhi. Delhi police had also sent teams to this address to verify, and they found that this address was fake and was fraudulently used by Umar Nabi to procure this car. This car currently remains the center of the investigation because we do not know the explosive that was used and that was stuffed in the rear of the car, whether it was from the same module and same recovery that were made from Faridabad, or it was procured from some other sources. The exact nature of explosive is also yet to be found out. However, they are saying that a huge amount of ammonium nitrate that was recovered after the busting of Faridabad module, and the ammonium nitrate used in this car could be from the same batch. Also, it is being said that the explosive that was used was kind of high military grade explosive because the kind of explosion it was and the intensity it was and the damage it has caused not just to the spot but the people around and the vehicles around at that time at 6:55 p.m. on that day. So Umar Nabi remains to be in the picture, and his sample of his parents have also been taken to confirm, because the blast was such that the occupant of the car is no more, his remains are not there to confirm, and therefore a DNA sampling has been done which only will confirm if it was Umar Nabi. And now the police are also tracking this car, the details of I-20, trying to find out from where it was procured, who were the people who had provided the logistics, and how the entire operation, this entire terror operation was conducted and executed.
All right, Anvit, many thanks. Remember, the car becomes a very critical issue when it comes to the investigations gathering steam, and we have been reporting on this all way through relentlessly the last 24-48 hours. I can tell you that CNN News 18 has been giving you all those exclusive details first right over here. But a quick update coming in from the Cabinet Committee on Security, which is about to begin at around 5:30 p.m. What we are learning is that the Home Minister Amit Shah, the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh have already reached inside the LKM just 10 to 15 minutes. I would say it's around 10 minutes ahead of the big CCS meeting, the first one after the Red Fort blast which has taken place. So that's the big update. I'm going to try and go across to both Arunima and Aman, who are going to give us some more details on the CCS. But you know, it's not that the Prime Minister... Okay, I'm going to go across to my guests who have been joining. Shashank ji, I was just talking to you a short while back while we are waiting for the CCS to begin, and as we just pointed out, the Home Minister and the Defence Minister are already inside. You know, the fact that this seems to have been kind of very well planned. You know, many say that it was premature, perhaps it was meant for a later date at a different kind of a level. But would you say that clearly that Operation Sindoor, or clearly the Pakistan has not, if I'm presuming that Pakistani hand is now going to become very officially announced by the government at some point of time by our investigative agencies, but India's strategy has been able and also has been to get world opinion on our side. I mean, you know, the support from the world leaders have been coming in thick and fast moments after the Prime Minister spoke in Bhutan. So in Bhutan, from Australia, all of them have stood by us. Okay, let me go across to Arunima. I'm sorry, Shashank, I'll just come back to you in a bit. Arunima, the first leaders have begun to arrive, which is the Home Minister and the Defence Minister. You've been tracking the Home Ministry through the day, 24 to 48 hours, several rounds of meeting which has been held by the Home Minister. What have you been picking up from those meetings, which I guess will be reflected at the CCS also in a short while from now?
So there are two things before the CCS currently as we are being told. One is complete briefing on the internal security paradigm at the moment. This is not a blast which has affected Delhi alone. This is a blast which has its ramification in the nearby states and perhaps pan-India as well. Even as we are seeing that the Faridabad police, the Uttar Pradesh police and the Jammu and Kashmir police are cracking down on the module, there are suspicions that there could be other module members in other part of the country as well. So this homegrown radicalized module, how is it that India is really trying to resolve this process of radicalization? What is it that the plan of action is? Prime Minister himself has been in touch with the National Security Advisor, and the Home Minister, I think, is going to brief him on where the intelligence agencies stand as far as this particular module is concerned. The other response, of course, would be, if at all, a military response, because in the past, the Prime Minister has made it clear that any act of terror on India from now on will be treated as an act of war. So even though officially speaking, India's response this time has been measured because we are waiting for more evidence to come in, but sources have been telling us that the Jaish-e-Mohammed module's print is very clearly visible on the way this entire conspiracy was hashed. So that will be, the Prime Minister will be apprised of those details as well. And I think post these briefings, a call will be taken as to how to go forward. The Prime Minister has already said that Red Fort will be avenged, but how, when, that call I think will be taken. As we have seen during Operation Sindoor, a free hand was given to the armed forces.
All right, and remember, we are just going to wait for the CCS to begin. In another 10 minutes is when the CCS, to be followed by the cabinet meeting, is going to take place. The guests continue to remain with us. We're going into a short break, but news continues over here on CNN News 18.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish-Mohammed were recovered from the room of the Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं किस हमसाये ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनको नौगाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अभी छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसे को फोन मेरे साथ था, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन, मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
हाँ, उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ। मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। वो 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद पुलिस आए दिन को 4 बजे, दिन को 4 बजे आया वो, मजिस्ट्रेट साथ था, वो सरदार है सब इंस्पेक्टर। उसे बोला फारूक साहब चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा। हमने दरवाजा खोला, ये भी और वो भी, वहां से तलाशी की ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो वहां से निकला जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर है। हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नौगामा में चस्पान हुआ। उन्हें बस वही तीर पर लिखा है, उस पर ये माल वालों की धमकी है, अब सुधर जाओ, गलत काम करते हैं।
और उससे पहले किसी ने ताला खोला था कमरे का?
नहीं, 18 दिन उन्हीं के पास है। हम अंदर गए, क्या करना अंदर?
नहीं, उससे पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला था?
नहीं, जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबियां उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं कि हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनको नौगाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अभी छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसे को फोन मेरे साथ था, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन, मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
हाँ, उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ। मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। वो 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद पुलिस आए दिन को 4 बजे, दिन को 4 बजे आया वो, मजिस्ट्रेट साथ था, वो सरदार है सब इंस्पेक्टर। उसे बोला फारूक साहब चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा। हमने दरवाजा खोला, ये भी और वो भी, वहां से तलाशी की ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो वहां से निकला जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर है। हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नौगामा में चस्पान हुआ। उन्हें बस वही तीर पर लिखा है, उस पर ये माल वालों की धमकी है, अब सुधर जाओ, गलत काम करते हैं।
और उससे पहले किसी ने ताला खोला था कमरे का?
नहीं, 18 दिन उन्हीं के पास है। हम अंदर गए, क्या करना अंदर?
नहीं, उससे पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला?
नहीं, जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबियां उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of the Smallvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं कि हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनको नौगाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अबे छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसाय को फोन, मेरे साथ था, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन, मैंने मैं हूँ। इमाम साहब का भी, ओ इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। मैं चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
हाँ, उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला।
Okay, staying with our top story, which is the Red Fort blast. Lots of details pouring in fast. First over here, and exclusive ones on CNN News 18. Well, we've accessed some more fresh pictures of the old student days of Dr. Shaheen. Remember, one of the persons involved in this terror attack at the Red Fort. These pictures which you're seeing up on your screens are from her student days, and which essentially we are tracking it back to those days. Let me go across to my colleague Manmohan Rai, who's actually accessed these exclusive pictures. Manmohan, हम थोड़ी देर पहले यही सब बात कर रहे थे कि जितने डॉक्टर्स हैं, those who are qualified, they are the ones who seem to have been involved this time round. But about Dr. Shaheen, as you access those pictures, क्या जानकारी उनके बारे में, उनके स्टूडेंट डेज के बारे में आपको मिल पाई है?
No, she's essentially a girl from Lucknow. Her family is from Lucknow, and she was a class topper even during her student days when she was in intermediate. She was always a class topper. She was a very good student. The pictures we're just showing right now are from her medical student days when she joined the Ganesh Shankar Vidyarthi Medical College in Kanpur. So she studied in Lucknow, did her schooling in Lucknow where she was a class topper, and then she got selected in medical entrance exam and was allotted the Ganesh Shankar Vidyarthi Medical College, which is in Kanpur. She did her MBBS from Kanpur, and the pictures during of those days when she was a student in Kanpur, her hostel pictures. But there is one picture of her CPMT form, the medical entrance examination form. So the family, even her brother qualified as a doctor. So they were quite studious. The family was inclined towards academic pursuits, and they were very, an educated family trying to uplift their status in society.
Manmohan, I don't know if you've been able to speak to many of her peer group, some of the students who may have shared a classroom or lectures with her, but have you been able to understand and figure out by speaking to your sources about whether this was a certain turnaround moment when it came to Dr. Shaheen, or was she, any case, inclined towards these acts of terror? She genuinely believed that she was going to attain, some kind of martyrdom if I'm going to carry on these acts of terror. Did they notice a change in her pattern suddenly?
So nobody can point a finger on when the sudden change happened, but by all means, she was a bit conservative, bit traditional. She was studious. She was, a family-oriented person, and she used to confine herself to her house, to her studies, to her school. One of the reporters spoke to her former husband. She later divorced from her husband, who is also a doctor in Kanpur. So, according to him, the version that he gave, that he also never found any unusual behavior in her, except the fact that she was a qualified doctor. She used to do her duty, and she was a bit of a homely person, confined to her home. It was after the divorce, the husband, the former husband, said that Shaheen wanted to shift to Australia for some strange reason. She was pressurizing her husband, her then husband, to move to Australia. She wanted to stay abroad, work abroad, and he was not inclined. He had relatives and friends in Kanpur. He wanted to stay back in Kanpur, and other differences also cropped up, and they later divorced. So this is the background. Nobody really found any unusual pattern in her behavior, and she was always considered a homely person, academically inclined, and a quiet person.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Manmohan, for getting us those details. Certainly worrying signs, because doctors are supposed to give you lives, and here doctors are involved in taking away lives. Our guests continue to remain with us, Major Jolly as well as Shashank, security expert. To you first, Shashank, we are talking about the CCS, which I'm presuming has already begun, because all the CCS ministers, including the NSA, have already entered. Major Jolly was talking about this fact that the army is always on alert. But more importantly, the element of surprise, that's very critical. That element of surprise, if you want to take any action against the perpetrators of terror, that becomes a very critical factor. But what do you think are the options, or what is it that the government today, the Prime Minister, must be weighing the options at the CCS meeting, which is going on right behind me?
Well, if you're asking me, I think options are it's an open canvas. Is for the Prime Minister to take a decision on the basis of whatever input, given a clear-cut message to these persons with this bent of mind that whatever happens, India is committed to rooting out terrorism in this country, and this kind of behavior will not be tolerated. Here I'd like to add one more thing. Now that all these persons have been picked up, this is about the time for the security agency to go in for their profiling, because this will give them an idea about what kind of persons in the future might get attracted towards this particular kind of nonsensical behavior, this kind of terrorism and all those things. This is the most important thing. Other things like, as you rightly mentioned, that my co-panelist had also rightly mentioned, is for the Prime Minister to take a decision on the basis of whatever input is being given to him. It is his choice. Thank you, ma'am.
Major Jolly, there has been one concern which I know governments has often been raised whenever we've been debriefed by government sources. They have talked about the social media which has been misused, all these messaging apps, and we've been reporting on this. Much of these planning happened on the social media app, of the messaging app of Telegram. The fact that they are encrypted, that's been one area of concern. And the government, while respecting our privacy, and I won't say it's just in India, but I think it's happened world over. But this latest incident, do you think this is something also which the government may now have to act upon even more stringently? And I don't know if it's going to be taken up inside the CCS or not. But you think this is also an area of concern which all governments of the day face, but particularly our government?
Yeah, thanks, Pallavi. See, the thing is, when I started my career in MI, I was one of the first guys who worked on cyber and communication. It was early 2000 when all these things had just started. Since then, the problem has not changed. It's been now 25 years. If you go after one app, they'll find another app. You can customize an app. You can communicate through gaming apps. You cannot actually restrict the communication. You can fight with the app holders, and it'll be a long drawn battle of IT Act versus the legality and privacy. But the point is that controlling the communication and reviewing it all the time is a near impossible task. So while it is a good idea to do that, achieving it is near impossible. So what needs to be done is, rather than trying to cover umbrella that covers Telegram, WhatsApp, and everything, even the data is by billions and trillions of messages each day. How do you sift through it? No amount of AI can do that sifting per day. You have to lock down the sources from the communication originates and develop from there. Like these guys have been caught. You identify who were they talking to, and then you build it step by step. It's a long process, but it is much more fruitful than just trying to cover the entire and just throw the net in the lake and hope for some fish to walk into it. Swim into it. That's not going. That's really impossible to happen. And agencies have been trying to do that for decades, but not to much success. Even the foreign agencies have failed miserably because the task is near impossible. Creating a messaging app is not as complicated as it was 2 decades ago. If me, Mr. Shashikant, and you want to talk to each secretly, there are 50 ways I can just suggest in next 1 minute, and nobody would even look at them. That's the problem. Nobody's looking at them. So just focusing on Telegram, WhatsApp, or emails is not going to generate too many results. We need to focus on the sources of communication, or the platform, not platform, individuals which are talking on this. Thank you.
That's a double-edged sword. I agree with you. I mean, social media,
I just want to make one
the
point.
social media privacy on one hand, and also how do you control these messaging apps? For now, we have to go into a break. But many thanks, Mr. Shashikant, as well as Major Jolly, for joining us this evening, even as we cover that important CCS meeting, which I'm being told has just about begun. We go into a break now, but news continues over here on CNN News 18.
Co-Powered. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of the Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं कि हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनको नौगाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अबे छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसाय को फोन, मेरे साथ आओ, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन? मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते हैं इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। मैं चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
हाँ, उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ। मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। वो 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद पुलिस आए, दिन को 4 बजे आया वो। मजिस्ट्रेट साथ है, वो सरदार है सब इंस्पेक्टर। उसे बोला फारूक साहब चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा। हमने दरवाजा खोला, ये भी और वो भी। वहां से तलाशी की, ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो वहां से निकला जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर है। हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नौगामा में चस्पान हुआ। उन्हें बस,
और उससे पहले किसी ने ताला खोला था कमरे का?
नहीं 18 दिन उसी के उन्हीं के पास है। हम अंदर गए, क्या करना अंदर?
नहीं, उससे पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला?
नहीं, जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबियां उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of the Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं कि हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनको नौगाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अबे छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसाय को फोन, मेरे साथ आओ, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन? मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते हैं इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
हाँ, उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ। मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। वो 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद पुलिस आए दिन को 4 बजे, दिन को 4 बजे आया वो। मजिस्ट्रेट साथ था, वो सरदार है सब इंस्पेक्टर। उसे बोला फारूक साहब चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा। हमने दरवाजा खोला, ये भी और वो भी। वहां से तलाशी की ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो वहां से निकला जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर है। हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नागामा में चस्पान हुआ। उन्हें बस वही तीर पर लिखा है, उस पर ये माल वालों की धमकी है, अब सुधर जाओ, गलत काम करते हैं।
और उससे पहले किसी ने ताला खोला था कमरे का?
नहीं, 18 दिन उन्हीं के पास है। हम अंदर गए, क्या करना अंदर?
नहीं, उससे पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला?
नहीं, जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबियां उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं किस हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनको नागाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ। अभी छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस की ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसे को फोन, मेरे साथ था, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन? मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
हाँ, उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ। मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। वो 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद पुलिस आए दिन को 4 बजे, दिन को 4 बजे आया वो। मजिस्ट्रेट साथ था, वो सरदार है सब इंस्पेक्टर। उसे बोला फारूक साहब चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा। हमने दरवाजा खोला, ये भी और वो भी। वहां से तलाशी की ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो वहां से निकला जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर है। हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नागामा में चस्पान हुआ। उन्हें बस वही तीर पर लिखा है, उस पर ये माल वालों की धमकी है, अब सुधर जाओ, गलत काम करते हैं।
और उससे पहले किसी ने ताला खोला था कमरे का?
नहीं, 18 दिन उन्हीं के पास है। हम अंदर गए, क्या करना अंदर?
नहीं, उससे पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला?
नहीं, जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबियां उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on CNN News 18. We have some breaking news that's coming in. Now, we are a day away from the mandate of Bihar to be made public. The results will be out on Friday, and exit polls are now making predictions. Access My India is the latest one to come out with their exit poll numbers. As far as vote share is concerned, Access My India is projecting 41% vote share for the Mahagathbandhan, whereas 43% for the NDA. As far as the vote share margin is concerned, it's a 2% margin between the two alliances. JSP, which is Prashant Kishore, has not been able to make much of an impact either, is what we're learning. These are the latest numbers that have been put out by Access My India. Several pollsters who had put out their numbers yesterday had given a clear lead to the NDA. But looks like it is a mixed bag as far as Access My India projections are concerned. The vote share numbers are on your screens. They've just been put out. But there are several other parameters that Access My India has also put out. Aman, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more details and decoding that. Aman, as far as the vote share is concerned, there is a 2% margin. But on many other parameters, that gap is pretty high, especially as far as youth go or women go.
Well, yes, Poonam, Access My India is putting out a poll which is looking like the election is a bit tighter than what the other pollsters may have predicted yesterday, 150 to 160 seats. What Access My India is saying that 43% vote share for the NDA and 41% for the Mahagathbandhan, just a 2% vote share difference. And interestingly, Prashant Kishore's party is being given a 4% vote share. That means the party is making a certain 4% vote share, and Bihar is also big, when your party is contesting individually. But I think this 2% vote difference shows that Access My India is predicting that the election may be closer than what others are saying. They're still to put out the exact seat numbers. What I found very interesting in one of their predictions is that who is the most popular face for the chief ministerial face, and Tejaswi Yadav is leading that with 34% of the sampled people saying they want Tejaswi Yadav as the chief minister, while Nitish Kumar is at 22%. So clearly, Tejaswi seems to be the more popular CM face than Nitish Kumar as per the Access My India poll, but the NDA seems to have an edge when it comes to the vote share. Another interesting thing that I saw in the this particular thing is the male-female voting percentage. Also, the NDA has better voting percentage amongst the women. So 45% women are expected to vote for the NDA, while only 40% women for the MGB. On the other hand, if you see the male percentage, 41% for the NDA, 42% for the MGB. So a slight edge amongst the male voters for the MGB, but a considerable, I think, a significant edge with the NDA when it comes to the women voters. Another interesting part that I'm seeing amongst the people who are what occupation they are doing. So amongst the unemployed people and the students, the Mahagathbandhan seems to be ringing a bell more than the others, than the NDA. So clearly, Tejaswi Yadav's job promise, I feel that what he has promised that a government job in every family seems to have resonance amongst the younger, the unemployed voters, or the voters who are students, who will be stepping into the job market in a short while. There the MGB seems to be having an edge, and also the caste-wise figures that the Access My India has put out, a whopping 64% voters, Brahmin voters, are batting for the NDA as expected. About 66% of the Rajput voters, so the upper caste voters, be it the Bhumiyar, be it the Rajput, be it the Brahmin, seem to be batting for the NDA, as well as the Yadav and the Muslim candidates, a big majority, nearly 90% of Yadav voters in Bihar and 79% of Muslim voters in Bihar, Access My India is predicting, are voted for the Mahagathbandhan. So I think that is what is making this election so a bit tighter in the Access My India poll, while other pollsters have given quite a considerable lead to the NDA. We are still awaiting the final seat numbers that Access My India will put in a while, but so far 43% for NDA, 41% for MGB, 4% for Prashant Kishore's party, 12% for other players like the AIMM, Independents, Tej Pratap's party. A host of other parties are also fighting this election. But clearly, it seems that the election seems tighter in the Access My India poll so far. We'll await the exact seat numbers, Poonam.
In that sense, it does seem like this is an outlier poll, but there is one common theme from all the pollsters that we saw yesterday, Aman, and what Access My India has given is the Prashant Kishore factor. All pollsters seem to believe that he's not going to have much impact. I mean, the youth, first-time voters, people from 18 to 30 is the vote bank that he was trying to tap into. But even in that age, as far as Access My India's numbers go or their projections go, even there, he's barely made the cut.
Yes, but Poonam, still, if he is even getting 4 to 5% of the vote, whose vote is he cutting? He seems to be cutting the anti-incumbency vote in Bihar, which is the Mahagathbandhan's vote. So if some part of the youth are actually voting for the Jan Swaraj party, whatever share he may get, if the Jan Swaraj party was not there, maybe this youth may have voted for the Mahagathbandhan, not for the NDA. So I think something is very clear that the Jan Swaraj party, even at 4% vote share, may be hurting the Mahagathbandhan more than it is hurting the NDA, and that explains the narrow difference, 43-41%, just 2% vote difference between the two alliances, which the Access My India is predicting. So I think that is very crucial, that even if small at 4%, he may not win many seats, maybe just a couple of seats, may not win any seat for that matter, but still he may hurt the vote share of the Mahagathbandhan, which may prove to be very, very crucial if it is as tight an election as Access My India is predicting.
So just a vote cutter, really not a kingmaker as you would want to be. But as far as the preferred CM face is concerned, I want to delve a little deeper on on that data as well that Axis My India is predicting. Nitish Kumar is at 22%. Tejashwi Yadav, even though the NDA, the Mahagathbandhan's vote share is lower than the NDA's at the moment, we don't know where the seats stand. But as far as the CM phase is concerned, Tejashwi Yadav seems to be a more popular choice.
Well, that we saw on the ground as well, Poonam. When we went to the ground and my colleagues have gone to the ground, you have seen that, because also there was a very, very clear projection of Tejashwi Yadav as the chief ministerial face by the Mahagathbandhan. There was a proper press conference with the Congress party, the Left party, the VIP party, all the constituents of the Mahagathbandhan jointly declared Tejashwi Yadav as the chief ministerial face. If you've seen the RJD's posters and entire publicity during the election, it was only Tejashwi Yadav on the poster. No, Ab ki baar Tejashwi Sarkar, which was the slogan of the Mahagathbandhan. So no surprises, I think, there that Tejashwi Yadav is emerging as the most popular CM face at 34%. Yes, but I think Nitish Kumar is not far behind at 22% still, after being CM for most of the last 20 years. Even if, you know, nearly one in every four voters is still backing Nitish Kumar as the chief minister. That is also a big deal for the because he remains the most popular face definitely in the NDA. Even if you see these figures, only 14% voters are saying any candidate from the BJP. Still, Nitish Kumar has 22%, so I think the NDA would take that. Even after 20 years of him being the JDU would take that. But clearly, Tejashwi Yadav, because of his clear projection and the way he's run his campaign, I think it's no surprises that he's emerging as the most popular CM face. But can he pull his party also to the top position? Well, that remains to be seen.
And we are awaiting those final numbers from Axis My India, like most pollsters had put out yesterday, whether it ends up on the same lines, whether it is the NDA that surges past, even in Axis My India's poll. That's something that we are waiting for. But Pallavi also joins us on this broadcast. And Pallavi, the women factor is something that was spoken of as far as Bihar is concerned. Women have always been a voter base of Nitish Kumar. He enjoys immense popularity as far as that voter base is concerned. But if you look at the data that Axis My India has put out, the difference between the Mahagathbandhan and the NDA is just about 5% as far as female voters go.
That's right. But, you know, I think this time round, Tejashwi Yadav also understood that winning the women voters could actually be the kind of a clincher. So he also understood that would reassure a woman would not just be her economic empowerment. So it is not just the NDA, but also the Mahagathbandhan, but more importantly, the RGA within the Mahagathbandhan, which actually talked about emboldening women, talking about giving them money, 30,000 rupees into their account, talking about a permanent salary being paid to a Jivika Didis, which are the self-help women groups as well. But I think what is also important to understand why there was a huge voter turnout was the fact that became a very, very key issue. Now, Nitish Kumar goes with a track record of providing good governance, women feeling safe and stepping out, and, you know, going into multiple job opportunities. This is where Tejashwi Yadav was facing competition, which is why in the manifesto of the Mahagathbandhan, one of the most important and one of the first, second or third points I can say was that the reassurance he required to give to the women that, you know, I may be my father's son, but in many ways the legacy or this allegation about Lalu Prasad Yadav running a reign of terror, Bahubali Raj, which is why, you know, I still remember the last press conference he did when the campaigning ended for the second phase. He was flanked by his sisters. I think he wanted that I would also look after the safety of women as much as Nitish Kumar did.
And if these projections do translate, then it looks like he has tapped into that vote base that was looked at as a firm vote base of Nitish Kumar and the NDA. We'll have to wait and watch if these exit polls projections actually what happens on verdict day, and we'll keep an eye out on that. But for the moment, Pallavi, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. It is a wrap from my side here on this edition.
Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me. After a massive explosion ripped through one of the busiest and densely populated markets of the national capital, one thing is clear: India has a problem within. A white-collar network, a module operated by educated professionals, the likes of doctors. Those entrusted with principles of humanity have now joined the ranks of terror, turning into agents of death. The Delhi blast isn't an isolated act of violence, but a proof of the radicalization threat, one that cannot be downplayed or rationalized any further. How does radicalization take root among them to turn to terror? The lines between external and internal threats are blurring. Multi-layered response. The fight isn't just against the enemy lurking at the borders, but against ideological manipulation within. So how does one navigate this immense challenge where every action is turned into further fuel for radicalization? That's the big debate coming up with our guests in just a bit. But remember, a short while ago, after landing in India, in the national capital, Prime Minister Narendra Modi headed straight to the LNJP hospital and met those injured in the Delhi blast. Following this, the Prime Minister is chairing a meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security. The CCS meetings are attended by the Defence Minister, Minister of Home Affairs, External Affairs, Finance Minister and National Security Advisor, along with other top security and ministry officials of the meet. So what is the agenda of this meeting this time around? According to sources, top officials are set to brief the Prime Minister, of course, on the investigation updates. The focus will also be on the international links and terror modules. The Faridabad and Kashmir link to the blast will be discussed. Radicalization alarm will also be discussed because that is the big concern that is coming to light. What would be the next steps by the government? Now, this is where everybody's eyes are. We're all direction that the government is going to take. It's not going to be an easy one. But, of course, the question, it's likely that there will be enhanced surveillance along the line of control in a bid to crack down on infiltration possibilities. There may be heightened cyber monitoring to fight the threat of radicalization from here on. And there may be renewed efforts to bolster intelligence to prevent such attacks in the past. It is indeed a success with a minor blip as far as the information is concerned, but the threat is not over. The day there have been more alerts for at least 2 more cars that have been issued by the Delhi police. The trail of terror isn't just limited to the national capital, even as more focus has been on where these cars could possibly be. But let me trace for you the story that is more troubling for India, because this entire module began in Nagaum. The story began in Nagaum in Jammu and Kashmir, where those Jaish-related posters amplifying the Jaish agenda were put up. This led to arrests both in the valley, but also further brought forward the terror module based out of Faridabad. It's not too far from the national capital. Faridabad is technically part of the NCR region. The investigation teams busted a module there, seized huge amount of explosives and arrested those behind the conspiracy, doctors. Some key actors involved were also picked up from Saharanpur. This is also a matter of concern. The car that was used in the Delhi terror blast was procured in Pulwama, and since a lot of had gone exchanged hands with many others, finally landing with the suspected bomber, Dr. Umar Nabi. The suspected suicide bomber is, of course, the big link that has come to light. But let me also trace for you some of the key agents of death that have been involved as far as this case is concerned. So now what is coming to light is, how did these doctors become terrorists? It was the alleged mastermind and the indoctrinator behind the Faridabad module, whose image has come to light. His arrest from Shopian uncovered a deeper web of radicalization and online propaganda. So then comes the other key actors, including Dr. Nabi, who is, of course, the suspected suicide bomber who was behind the wheels of the I-20, Dr. Muzammil Ahmed Ganei, who was arrested in connection to the Faridabad module. Cops also seized more than 2,900 kilograms of explosives from his house. Dr. Shaheen Shahid, the lady doctor who has been arrested from Lucknow and is believed to be the financer of the module. She also ferried some of the weapons for Muzammil and Dr. Adil Ahmed, who was involved in putting up these Jaish posters and was arrested from Saharanpur with a huge cache of arms and ammunition. So how do these posters turn into terrorists? This problem with it and the debate that's coming in with our guest.
पुलवामा के डॉक्टर के साथ मिलकर प्लान ऑफ कानपुर कनेक्शन सामने आया, क्योंकि जो डॉक्टर शाहीन है उसने कानपुर के जीएस में मेडिकल कॉलेज में 2006 में प्रोफेसर के तौर पर ज्वाइन किया।
वहाँ से तलाशी की ठीक ठाक से बजट के वहाँ से निकला जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर है। हमें नहीं पता, सरकार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नामदामा में चस्पा।
ये तस्वीरें पहले आप अंदर की देखिए। ऐसे में यूपी एसटीएफ की टीम हो हरियाणा अंदर मौजूद है और 5 से 6 गाड़ियां अभी भी तमाम इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग टीम्स की अंदर मौजूद है।
Let's go across to our guest joining us, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former DG Infantry of the Indian Army, AK Jain, former DGP Uttar Pradesh, Tarakarta, former DG NIA and former DIG BSF joining us. And ND Dubey, I want to begin with you. What has come to light is extremely shocking, if not completely surprising. Not the first time that educated Muslim men and women have been found to be part modules, not the first time that this has happened in India either. But are you surprised by just the sheer amount of radicalization that would have gone in for doctors to become agents of death?
Sorry, ma'am.
Yes.
Actually, I am very sure. Basically, the has got no connection with the person, whether he's a highly educated foot soldier. Actually, there has been initial era when these things mattered, but again there is a section in our society which generally propagates the factor that that's a have not fight. The person who is deprived, is less educated, having no opportunity for employment, these people are very easily motivated to join the radicalization and the terrorism. But if you see the history, even if you see the last 5 to 6 years development, highly educated people, including doctors, have been part of this radical terror system. And the latest outfit which have been burst with the great support of JNK police is an eye-opener for the entire society. I remember the days when these Kashmiri boys used to go for study in medical colleges in Pakistan, and Hurriyat Conference used to allocate the seats. You know who is the Hurriyat Conference? You know the entire story of the front offices of Hurriyat Conference in the Srinagar city. They used to allocate the seats and the money to study in the Pakistan. You think of a situation where these students are spending their 4 to 5 years in Pakistan in some medical college, suppose, what kind of thought process and what kind of motivation they are undergoing. Same situation is in Bangladesh. Our students are joining medical colleges in Bangladesh. You know situations is last 1.5 years. The situation is turned in Bangladesh. Taking call in Bangladesh. 1 million Rohingyas are being in Bangladesh. The students who are joining in these countries, including few places in Nepal, ISI is taking advantage of these things. And these people are falling as easy prey. See you situation.
So
the doctor is of 36 years age.
No, I want to understand two questions that come out of your answer. One, I want to understand, this is then the generation that was already brainwashed when Hurriyat was still active, when stone pelting was still active, now coming to fore, because we've acted on Hurriyat and other separatist agenda in Jammu and Kashmir only in the last, let's say, 5 to 6 years. So do you believe it is that generation that is already brainwashed that is coming to light now and they're doing what they were already brainwashed to do? Or do you feel that this is going to be an unending problem despite the curbing of Hurriyat in Jammu and Kashmir?
I tell you, I mean, as you know, Hurriyat has been dealt with very tough hand.
Yes.
By the cases registered by the National Agency in 2017, 18, 19. So that issue has been very well handled. Now the question is, you take the example of this doctor. He bought and 1989 the year when the terrorism started in Kashmir. So you take the complete life of this person, situation of the Kashmir. These people are coming out of Kashmir. The person studied from the government medical college, government medical college, Anant, is just joining such terror module at the helm of. That is a very concerning issue. The problem is that we are not keeping these institutions. Sorry to say, I have witnessed few cases in Greater Noida. Great universities bearing very great name. They are giving so liberal free hand to their students just for the commercial purpose. Because if you keep these students, the easy remittance of commercials are coming to the institutions and there is nobody to tick off. Complete proctorial board, complete administrative body, they keep silent. And these boys are practicing radical activities inside the university in daytime. I am not saying in the institution during classes. You can this question from the proctor. He told, "अरे ये नाराज हो जाएंगे, admission कम होगा, seats कम भरेगी." We are sold, I tell you. Why as an institution head it's not? What is the activity of this student? How he is doing? What he is doing? It's a job of the society also. We very easily blame the security agency.
No,
yes.
so is India? I want to take this question to Mr. I want to take this to AK Jain because you've been a former DGP of Uttar Pradesh. India is weak. It's a weak state that does not want to take the harsh measures because of the fear that it is going to, you know, marginalize mentally at least these people. It happens right under our noses. Why is there no greater tab of what is happening of all of this generation that has grown up in terror-ridden Kashmir and brainwashed in their growing up years, moving all across India? There should be, especially after this. Why have we allowed Kashmiri students to go to Pakistan, to Bangladesh to begin with? Why was there never a crackdown on this?
You are absolutely correct. In my opinion, India is a very weak state, and but of late things are changing, and action is being taken. I see it in UP also that stern action is being taken against radical elements in the society. No action is being taken against a community as such, but whosoever breaks law, very stern action is being taken against such people. There are a number of cases, and it had its impact. There is a communal peace. There is a total communal peace in the state. So stern action will have to be taken. If you are bothered about backlash, or if you think that in media very radical action is being taken, very harsh action is being taken, so one should not bother for it. The police forces and intelligence agencies, they are supposed to do their work. They are supposed to do their work diligently. They should not bother about the news items or about the backlash. Genuine people, really culprits, should be caught. No innocent person should be sent to jail. That is for certain. That if you send one innocent person to jail, it brings very bad name. You confirm it, doubly confirm it, but take action if you are confirmed about it that there are criminal elements. What JNK has done, he traced the person who was putting up posters, and from that the arrest started from Saharanpur, and this Faridabad nexus, entire nexus was exposed. So many India has been saved from so many blasts. Because I think, this is my conjecture and this conjecture of so many people, that they were planning large-scale blasts on the anniversary of 26/11, and I think the amount of material they had, operation which was going on, they would have carried out such blasts, which would have been very dangerous.
No, but we cannot rest now, given the extent of the kind of nexus that has come to light. And at the center of this entire nexus is also this university. It has become a completely suspicious entity because of this recent bust. In fact, it has now come to light, Tarakarta, that this university hired a tainted Kashmir doctor, Dr. Nisarul Hassan, who was earlier in November 2023 dismissed by the Jammu and Kashmir LG administration over terror links. He was an assistant professor medicine at the SMHS hospital Srinagar, and was some sort of a self-styled president of Doctors Association in Kashmir, and was using that to cover, to spread secessionism under the patronage of the Pakistani proxies. This man hired by the Jammu and Kashmir in Al-Falah. I mean, what is going on?
I mean, that is certainly a very, very, very surprising statement, given that the lack of it and why they hired this man is extremely surprising. But I just want to dwell a little on this whole radicalization thing. In any a terror module is still easier to pull up and find, because they're looking for weapons, they're looking for stuff, they're moving around. A radicalization network is extremely to pin it down, because normally it's been going on for years. Like that one which was in 23 in Spain. Italian police together caught this Pakistani radical gang which had been operating for years. 23 they caught, 23, 24 they carried on. I mean, it took 2.5 years to dismantle that network. It's very, very difficult. But like of our de-radicalization efforts, I will agree with the previous speakers, but all you need to have perception of a fair and equitable justice system. Desired in terms of how justice is given, how much your forensics are capability, which again we are trying, this government has been trying to pull it up, not fast enough, therefore you can't make a case. Holes in our present system which prevents you from getting ahead with cases and getting convictions. But I will agree with the gentleman who spoke earlier. I think we need to evolve a clear societal mandate.
Exactly.
Your religion is outside the educational institution. It is not inside. Your religion is inside your house. You stay there, do what you want. None of this, overt of any kind. Religion, I'm not pointing to any particular religion. Nothing outside all this has to be reduced drastically. Let's be a stable country which brings in and is seen publicly to be even-handed with all. That's all I'd like to say.
Out how these doctors were expressing themselves in their institutions. The institution today claims they have zero knowledge of what they were doing in their spare time, and they had no clue that this was going on. In fact, the ex-husband of Dr. Shaheen Shahid, the female doctor, spoke to the media saying, she was very liberal, she was hardly very dogmatic or religious, wanted to go settle abroad, and things like that. So it's not so much of what they were doing in their public spaces. But here's the problem, which we don't want to look at because it's uncomfortable for India with a large Muslim population. The problem is, look at this Maulvi Irfan, who has come to light. Now, it is clear in case after case after case that there is indoctrination taking place inside these masjids, but nobody wants to do anything, Lieutenant General. That's the problem. You don't want to do it because you want to respect this space as a religious space. You don't want to be seen as cracking down on it. But majority of the indoctrination is coming from Maulvis and it's happening inside masjids. What are we going to do about this?
Shivani, thank you. The very outset, first and foremost, yes, India is a soft state. Second, most of us who are deployed there don't even know how to read Urdu. If all these posters would come up there, most of us wouldn't know. It's fortunate that someone over there found out as to what is written there. Not many can read what is written there. Not many can understand what they speak there. We may have been there for years on. Each one of us goes there for a few years and comes out of it and expecting others. Thirdly, they are dramatists. You will find them now come out with such stories, such soft stories. Don't know anybody. Nothing has ever happened. I don't know what has happened. Total drama baji that they are experts at. See, look at their physical appearances. Look at their activities. Look at that Al-Falah University, 2013, heart of Dubai. That's the way where the charity is coming into India for. For what? For an 80-acre land. See the number of students enrolled. See the kind of thing. You would know yourself what is going on there. We are blind. We won't be blind. And that's
why?
The whole thing.
No, but why? Why under this government too? Do we want to be blind to these threats? Do we think that Clearly, all experts I speak to say this is not a developmental problem.
Now the question arises, Shivani, why are this? It isn't that these people weren't there. It was always this indoctrination, radicalization was always associated with politicians there in the valley. We have all been there after 20 years. Don't I know what these politicians are all about? Talking about it is now easy to get these law people to work for them because it's getting more and more difficult. So they now Jamaat-e-Islami have always had a women wing. What are we talking about? Sisters there. Jamaat-e-Islami, I've been there, I've been dealing with these women over there. Not now, 20 years back I'm talking about. So this is nothing new. We all know and everything is there. It is just that this time everything worked well. I think the police acted superbly. There is no denying the fact that everybody did and everything happened in the right time and we have averted a great tragedy.
Okay.
But the fact still remains that these people are not to be trusted. Number one. Number two, in the government college, medical college of Srinagar, are people who are not from that area. I would like to know how many of them are there. All of them are the same. So it's very difficult, and it is time now that we acted tough. Tough in the sense, if there are 6 siblings, I have known a family, 6, 7 siblings. One of them is a tehsildar, yet another one is an Anganwadi worker, yet another one is a teacher, fourth one is doing nothing, and yet one amongst them is a he brings in goodwill. The entire family has got a huge house, excellent, fantastic, not a man in that entire village will ever look at them. Why? Because that militant is the man who's getting them the goodwill. And now all of them will disown him. That we don't know.
No, in fact, since you speak of this, I want to run these reactions from the families of these suspects who have been nabbed. All of them say the same thing, that this man was very nice. Some are saying the man was very soft-hearted. They all are educated clearly, they had professions to take care of, they had something to lose. You know, we have this tendency to think that if you have a decent life and something to lose, you're not going to go down this path. But the families are completely unaware of what's going on. Do we find this believable or not? I'll come to you with that, but let's listen into these families.
मुझे लगता है वो निर्दोष है, उसको पर ये इल्जाम लगाया गया हो, ये बात मैं बोल सकती हूँ।
तो कानून पे ये भरोसा है कि
हाँ।
वो से छूटेंगे?
हाँ?
कानून पे आपको पूरा भरोसा है कि वो से छूटेंगे?
हाँ, वो छूटेंगे इंशाल्लाह।
काम क्या कर रहे थे?
वो एज ए प्रोफेसर वहाँ पढ़ा, कुछ भी उनको ले लिया, बोला कि हमें थोड़ी सी पूछताछ करनी है बस। वो ज्यादा बातें भी नहीं करता था, बस अपने काम में मशगूल रहता था।
कैसा मूड रहता था उनका?
मूड तो सर बहुत ठीक रहता था, कभी इस तरह की चीज़ें नहीं हुई, कभी कोई मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा कोई गुस्सा नहीं करते थे, बड़ा विनम्र तरीके से बात करते थे।
क्या एकांत में रहना पसंद करते थे?
नहीं, एकांत में भी नहीं, पेशेंट काफ़ी देर तक उनके पास बैठे रहते थे, बात करते रहते थे, पेशेंट के बच्चों से खेलते रहते थे।
जो कल से पिक्चर हम देख रहे हैं दिल्ली ब्लास्ट के बाद, कहा जा रहा था कि ये तारिक है, लेकिन आप बता रहे हैं ये तारिक नहीं है।
हमारे घर में कोई तारिक ही नहीं है। हमारे घर में उमर रशीद है, दूसरा है आमिर रशीद, बस वो दो।
क्या उन्होंने कोई गाड़ी ली थी बाहर से, कहीं HR नंबर की गाड़ी? जो
नहीं, हमारी गाड़ी ये है, आप देख सकते हैं, JK नंबर की है।
Mr. Dubey, I want to come to you with this. In some ways, I believe that yes, it's possible that your parents, aged parents, extended family, siblings may not know much about your private life because these are not kids, right? These are adults. They all have their own lives. They're also working, living in other cities. But do you feel
a possibility that family might not be knowing the vital clues, but indications be hidden? I mean, these radical elements give the indications, so I cannot completely believe the family members that they are clueless. Yes, but in some cases they remain clueless. Tata Institute of Social Sciences, TIS had conducted a study 9 years before in Kashmir about the radicalization. I am privy to that report, and these imams, these basically clerics, Ahle Hadith clerics imported from our hinterland, particularly from Bihar and UP. If you listen in the morning in Kashmir, a typical Kashmiri imam recites the namaz in a very different tone. Even in the early morning, we used to listen the azan from our own houses once we were deployed, and we were able to clearly tell that this person is not a local person. So the most radicalization has been done by this Darbhanga area, UP ka kuch area. I mean, the people who basically travel from these places to occupy the places of Imam in Kashmir, these are the clerics. JNK police have been keeping tab on those people. That I remember, there was a complete list of these Imams, these clerics, and in the study it was proved. Basically, the Imams, the Maulvis in these institutions who are main instrument to radicalize these boys.
But sir,
So
why
they are
don't
the
we
main
act
source
on
of
them?
radicalization.
I don't understand. How long are we going to just keep talking about this? Why don't we act on this?
That is the issue. That is the issue because the political process in Kashmir, as you know, because of obvious reason, have seen many ups and downs in the last 20 years. 1996 first JNK Assembly election after turmoil had happened, and I was the nodal officer in 1996 in the same South Kashmir area. These two bombers, February 2019, Gaon Gundibagh, Kakapura Pulwama, Adil Ahmad Dar, that was my responsibility area. The current Dr. Umar, he is from Koil, just on the down stairs of the Avantipur airfield. So, Jhelum River area और कश्मीर से रिलेटेड आतंकवाद साउथ कश्मीर पुलवामा के इन्वॉल्वमेंट के बगैर हो ही नहीं सकता. So South Kashmir is the most important area to put on the radar, and the clerics who are practicing, who are associated in radicalization, there have been clerics in Anantnag who used to travel from holding a 5,000, 10,000 people's gathering, and he's talking about it. It's known. So I think we have to catch the root of radicalization, and these imams and clerics are the biggest source to radicalize in Kashmir.
Well, that is certainly coming to light one more time. Mr. Jain, you look at these areas in Haryana, or you look at these areas next to the Faridabad University, even they are considered hot spots, tinderpots of radicalization. What have we done about this?
Not much has been done. Haryana government should take action. There are some pockets in Haryana where anything is possible. We all are aware of it. Only MLAs of one community, they win elections over there, and no one else is allowed to penetrate those areas.
I have heard, sir, I want to know from you, I have heard that in Mewad, police dare not enter, it's a no-go area.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. No, they go, but they go in large numbers. One or two people, they cannot go and take action. So that is not possible in those areas. In UP, there have been several studies, and several madrasas, at several madrasas it was found that people of very, very doubtful antecedents, they were teaching, from where the funding was coming, who all were funding the madrasas, who all were teaching at madrasas. It was not known what all was being taught. Now it is all under scanner, and this should be done. This should be done because poisoning is being done from madrasa stage when they are very small kids. So some people are poisoning these people. The same thing is happening at masjids also. Dangerous. In UP, there have been incidents after Friday mosque. Hundreds attacked the police after coming out of the mosque. You have gone to pray there. You have not gone. You have not collected there to attack police. So that is alarming, and that's why I say it with certainty. Things are in a much better shape in the state. Okay. It's a very communally surcharged state, and there have been such big riots in the past. Now nothing is happening because action will happen.
I understand that, but this fear of it becoming communal, Tarakarta, we need to get out of this fear, because in protecting innocent lives is more abilities. I'm sorry to say this. Enough has to be enough sometimes. If there is a radicalization problem amongst a certain community, it has to be dealt with whether that community likes it or not. Ideally, they should be the ones at the forefront.
Absolutely. In there, I would agree with you 100%. It's high time the religious hand in, what they're talking of. Understand what are these people teaching? And I completely agree. The no-go areas, by the way, Shivani, is not just in UP. There are other areas down south where you can't, I mean, as a Hindu, I can't go there. I can't sell my land. I can't get a job there. There are a lot of areas like these, which your point is very right. All this started somewhere in the late 1990s. And it has a new generation. That question you asked is very important, Shivani. A new generation would be quite different. This from that generation which saw the height of militancy. So, arising from that, any measure, the point about Maulvis, while being absolutely vital, please don't lump all of them into the same basket. We have won over Kashmir through blood, literally with blood and hard work, and we need to keep that. They are our people.
Okay.
They are Indians. So let's not make this about Kashmir. Let's make this about terrorism. And
no, absolutely. But here's the problem. You know, you can bomb Jaish-e-Mohammed training centers in Pakistan. What do you do with terrorists within? These men and women are no less than any Pakistani terrorists, right? So yes, our hands are tied in terms of what we can do, but we cannot be sitting by and, you know, feeling helpless about the fact that these 4 or 5 men, doctors no less, can come together and decide they're going to blow up people in the national capital. And we're going to keep quiet about this. We're not going to talk about why this happens.
No, Shivani, as Indians, that's worse than Pakistanis. I can still accept a Pakistani doing that. That's his, his problem. But an Indian doing this is 10 times worse.
Yes, but we don't talk about this enough. My only problem is because cities involved, or because of quote-unquote communalism involved or secularism involved, we don't. Why is it bad to talk about this, and why should anybody be afraid to talk about the problem that is staring in our faces? And why do some people, just go quiet and bury themselves in their? Where are they?
100% I would agree. We need to take this head on.
Yes, niceties have to be dropped. You cannot question government. Keep crying about communalism in India, keep crying about marginalization, keep crying about how there is quote unquote a genocide going on in India. This is not done. You can't have it both ways. And then you go quiet when members of a certain community come out and carry out blasts. In the last 6-7 months, some 8 modules have been busted. 8 modules.
No, there is no, if you're asking me, sorry.
No, go ahead. No.
Yeah, no, there is no question at all that you need to take, this time the integration from JK police to UP police to Haryana police, excellent integration, people work together, this we need to push, number 1. Number 2 is what we said about religious leaders. They have to take action against these people on the ground.
I think, Tarakata, I only disagree on one point. Religious leaders are one part of the story. Where are the common public? Where are, we saw anti-CEA protests. Where are the anti-Al-Falah protests? Why is nobody protesting about this? Why is nobody protesting about the fact that 4 doctors from a university are part of a Jaish-linked module? Who's going to protest about this?
I think it's not, it is.
It's a community, I'm sorry, but it's a community problem. Lieutenant General, you want to come in very quickly before I move on?
See, Shivani, nation comes first always and every time. If ideology or their faith comes first, sorry, they need to be told in no uncertain terms, nation comes first. Secondly, what happened in that we talk about, who was the Home Minister, who was the J&K Chief Minister, we all know what is happening over there, and despite that, trying to be soft, trying to take them along. It's okay, we must, there are people. But the fact is, well, this is not acceptable. This is something which is bringing a bad name to 99% of that community. Just for 1% of that aberration community is bringing a bad name. And therefore, until and unless people themselves, the citizens have to come out. And
yeah, it's not just enough to say, oh, these people, they don't belong amongst us, they are not one of us, they have no religion. That is not sufficient anymore. The community needs to come forward and take responsibility for the fact that it is happening in the name of religion. If they believe this is not right, then they need to be at the forefront of it, right? But that reform forthcoming from within, that is a problem. So if you don't reform from within, then reform will be imposed on you. But then that becomes ugly, unfortunately. But I want to bring in another angle to this. When the investigation agencies are also probing a Turkey link as far as this entire Red 4 blast is concerned. The investigation so far has revealed that these suspects traveled to Turkey. Most of them have traveled to Turkey. And now, of course, the thought process is that that is where this conspiracy could have been hatched. The accused were part of this entire white-collar terror module that has come to light. Clearly, there has been some effort that has gone into building this white educated doctors, others that are part of this entire nexus. Dr. Umar Nabi, Dr. Muzammil traveled to Turkey shortly after joining encrypted telegram groups, we are getting to know, that were used for radicalization. The Turkey visit is considered a key point where a lot of the conspiracy could have been solidified. Dr. Umar Nabi, Muzammil allegedly met their handlers in Turkey, who then would have apprised them of the larger nexus involved behind these attacks as well. This is another headache for India. Let me bring in Dr. Tarakata one more time on this. What do you make of this Turkey link? It's not just about Pakistan, Afghanistan and radicalization from there anymore, handlers from there. How does India navigate this?
Shivani, there's a whole, what shall I say, if you go west, you can't even fly there. There are no-fly zones. There is war. There's a whole lot of stuff taking place there. And Turkey, Azerbaijan, and these, and to some extent, also the Qatar. These people have all come together to form some kind of a, but that's going far. The angle, Turkey never used to be like this, say 5 years back. But now the Turkey, Pakistan, the intelligence angle is also, they're very tied up in together. So if this is not surprising to me.
Okay.
It is something which, I mean, this is the first time hearing of this, so kudos to your channel. But the Turkish, I mean, we saw some of that during Operation Sindoor. We also saw a bunch of visits of Turkish officials, Turkish ships to Pakistan. So that link is getting very strong.
Yes, but Turkey, Pakistan being allies, them buying some military equipment is a completely different story, right? We can't take umbrage to that. But this is a different story altogether. Yes, Mr. Dubey, you wanted to come in very quickly?
Yes. Anybody traveling Turkey of this particular geographical area has to be put on a scanner.
Exactly. This seems like common sense to me. I know this would be profiling, but God forbid.
I tell you the reason. There was a lady in Kashmir. She was lady wife of a killed category A terrorist. 4 years back, 3 years back, I think more than 2 years back, there was an earthquake. Just post earthquake, the lady had traveled to Turkey thrice. And I was working somewhere and this report had come to me. And we had completely analyzed her 3 times travel to Turkey in a span of 1 month. That to a lady having no capacity to bear the expenses of traveling to Turkey. And the complete study was done and there was a very serious issue with that. What I want to tell you, Turkey is the second largest arms supplier to Pakistan. ISI has got a very strong ground in Turkey. There is a Kashmir house in Turkey which operates the entire Kashmiri separatist politics. People of a wisdom background say, let us have a coffee at Kashmir house in Istanbul. But that is not the fact. This is a complete nexus of Pakistan and Turkey. Everybody. Example is our Operation Sindoor, the kind of support Turkey extended. And working in Turkey, somebody traveling to Turkey of this background has to be automatic scan to Turkey. What did he do there? He must have held a meeting with ISI operative in Turkey. That is very clear. Do you know that with Turkey and Pakistan, how strong the relationship are? So Turkey is the third country destination from where ISI operates very masterly. And these people are taken to Turkey for indoctrination, for further briefing, because nobody will doubt them.
Yes,
so
we can't. My only thing is, Lieutenant General, my thing is we can't stop military cooperation between two nations, and I don't think that should be our goal.
I'm not questioning that.
Exactly. No, I get your point. Just like we have our own military cooperation with like it, that shouldn't be our goal. But I am saying time has come to drop niceties, if you are going to study in Pakistan, that of course doesn't happen anymore, but if you're going to study in Bangladesh, if you are traveling to Turkey, this has to be put under. Or I don't think it would be so wrong of this country with this terror, both externally and internally, to say no, our students will not study in certain locations of the world.
Ma'am, I'm not against anyone traveling to Turkey. What I want to tell that there has to be an obvious for the travel of a particular person to Turkey, that too from of a doctor belonging to Kashmir.
Fair enough. No, I get that. It may sound like profiling, but profiling is, that's just the nature of the game. Has to be done. Yes, Lieutenant General.
Shivani, just tell you, in Pakistan itself, there's 6 lakh, remember 6 lakh madrasas and only 2,90,000 schools. Same Turkey, same Saudi Arabia and same Qatar financing all in Pakistan. And Pakistan taking full lead in Bangladesh and Turkey taking lead for Pakistan in Nepal. So Turkey is deeply involved. There is no denying the fact. Turks have gone against and Turks are standing with Pakistan without pay. And of course, Operation Sindoor was clearly brought that out. But notwithstanding that, you see the kind of book being gifted, that coffee table book by Yunus to Turkey and to the Pakistani general. What does that reflect? That mindset, radicalization, anti-India, hate India mindset is so deep-rooted into their minds that until and unless we first, Muslims later. Religion is a personal factor. The Hindus are next. First they're Indian and then they're Hindus or Christians or Jains or Buddhists for that matter. You have to ensure this, and it goes right from indoctrination in schools that India comes first. If India is doing well, everybody
does well. Yes. Final comment from Mr. Jain as well. I'm running out of time. Final comment with Mr. Jain as well. You know, this isn't just indoctrination. This is all India hate, and we have to be very mindful of it.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. Indians have also taken note of it. The travelers who were traveling in large numbers to Azerbaijan, Turkey, number has reduced. I think no person with nationalist fervor should travel to these countries, but we lack that. India has been famous for Jachans. India has been famous for such people, and there are people in society who openly favor these nations, and they say that whatever is going on in the country, naturally repercussions will be like this only. I keep on hearing such discussions, so that is also responsible for it, because unless and until we unite as a nation, this is not going to happen. Our country is not going to be a safe place.
I leave it at that. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. Let's get you some final numbers that have been released by pollster Access My India as far as the Bihar Assembly elections are concerned. The final number reads something like this. This is a prediction that they have made. NDA 130 seats and Mahagathbandhan 110 seats. 1 seat only to Jansaraj and others 2. So this is not as big a gap between the two numbers that have been predicted for the two sides as possibly some of the other exit polls have done. This is as close as it gets. If you as well, in the vote percentages, it's 43% votes for NDA and 41% for the Mahagathbandhan. Will that be then enough for a landslide or easy win for NDA? It doesn't look like that, because Sharma is joining us with more on this. Aman.
Well, yes, Shivani, the Access My India exit poll is looking far more closer than some other exit polls. What seats for NDA, and they are predicting 98 to 118 seats for the Mahagathbandhan. 43% for the NDA. For the Mahagathbandhan. So that is a big prediction coming from the Access My India, a pollster who has been proven correct on many occasions earlier. It has got a few wrong, but most of them have been correct. What I find very interesting, Shivani, in this exit poll is that the largest party as per the exit poll, is going to be the RJD at nearly 67 to 76 seats. But the history of Bihar is that the largest party in the last two elections did not form the government. It was the other side which formed the government. The other interesting part I'm finding the JDU's performance. The JDU is expected to win 56 to 62 seats as per the Axis Mind. From the 43 seats it won the last time, and it is contesting lesser seats this 115, it won 43, this time it's contesting 101, and if it is winning 56 to 62, almost more than half the seats, that shows the Nitish Kumar magic is working again. The JDU strike rate is going to be bigger, and this exit poll predicts that when JDU could win more seats than even the BJP.
Yes, so possibly this is that one poll, Pallavi, that the Mahagathbandhan wouldn't mind, because others are giving a pretty comfortable lead to the NDA and another Sarkar to Nitish Kumar.
Well, you know, frankly speaking, if you just go by the benchmark of the last assembly elections, it was a very neck-to-neck fight, and the results also were neck-to-neck. This time round, what we did notice while we were travelling to many parts of Bihar is, and not very surprisingly so, RJD was managing to keep on their hold as far as the bastions are concerned. Now, multiple exit polls, especially the ones which are out today, show that the Tejaswi, or rather the RJD, has been able to keep its grip over the Muslim and the Yadav vote bank. That seems to have consolidated behind, and that perhaps could be the reason which explains the very good performance of the RJD. And Tejaswi's campaign has been very, very aggressive, Shivani, on the ground. He's been very focused. He knows that the Yadav vote bank needs to stay with him. He's targeting the consolidation of Muslim vote bank, also looking at women voters, the young ones, promising them jobs. So he has a very well thought out strategy. Now, if he falls, I would give that blame a lot on the Congress party, because the Mahagathbandhan also needs to be together on this. But also at the exit poll results, the Congress has not done a lot. Them gave them between 0 to 5 or to 7. This one gives them between 17 to 21, which is not very different for the kind of performance they put up with the last time round.
Okay, leave it at that. Pallavi and Aman, thanks a lot for watching, for joining us, and thanks a lot to you for watching Plain Speak. The Right Stand with Anand Narasimhan is coming up next.
Powered by
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं कि हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनको नागाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अबे छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता, मुझे 10:15 बजे मैंने हमसाय को फोन, मेरे साथ था, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन, मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। मैं चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
हाँ, उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ। मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। वो 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद पुलिस आए दिन को 4 बजे, दिन को 4 बजे आया वो, मजिस्ट्रेट साथ था, वो सरदार है सब इंस्पेक्टर। उसे बोला फारूक साहब चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा। हमने दरवाजा खोला, वहां से तलाशी की ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो वहां से निकला जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर है। हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नागामा में चस्पान हुआ। उन्हें करते हैं। और
उससे पहले किसी ने ताला खोला था कमरे का?
नहीं 18 दिन उन्हीं के पास है। हम अंदर गए, क्या करना अंदर?
नहीं, उससे पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला?
नहीं, जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबियां उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन के पता नहीं किस हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनके नाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है। मुझे मैं डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसाय को फोन, मेरे साथ था, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन? मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं ढूंढता, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। मैं चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
हाँ, उसके बाद
फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ, उसी के दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। 4 बजे, दिन को 4 बजे आया वो। मजिस्ट्रेट साथ था, वो सरदार है सब इंस्पेक्टर। उसने बोला फारूक साहब चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा। हमने दरवाजा खोला, ये भी और वो भी। वहां से तलाशी की, ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो वहां से निकला जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर है। हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला जो नागामा में चस्पान हुआ, उन्हें ये माल वालों की धमकी है, अब सुधर जाओ, गलत काम करते हैं। और
उससे पहले किसी ने ताला खोला था कमरे का?
नहीं ना खोला, नहीं। जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं, उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन के पता नहीं किस हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनके नाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है। मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अबे छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसाय को फोन, मेरे साथ था, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन? मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। मैं चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
हाँ, उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ। मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। वो 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद पुलिस आए, दिन को 4 बजे, दिन को 4 बजे आया वो। मजिस्ट्रेट साथ था, सब इंस्पेक्टर। उसने बोला फारूक साहब चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा। हमने दरवाजा खोला, ये भी और वो भी। वहां से तलाशी की, ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो वहां से निकला जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर। उस पर ये माल वालों की धमकी है, अब सुधर जाओ, गलत काम करते हैं। और
उससे पहले किसी ने ताला खोला था कमरे का?
नहीं 18 दिन उन्हीं के पास है। हम अंदर गए, क्या करना अंदर?
नहीं, उससे पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला?
नहीं। जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबियां उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another on the link with the Maulvi Irfan, he has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं कि हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनको नागाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अबे छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता, मुझे 10:15 बजे मैंने हमसाय को फोन, मेरे साथ था, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन, मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का, इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। हाँ दे दो चाबी, मैं चाबी हमारे पास नहीं पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
हाँ, उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ, मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो आएंगे। वो 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद पुलिस आए दिन को 4 बजे, आया वो मजा था। वो सरदार है सब इंस्पेक्टर, उसे बोला फारूक साहब चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा। हमने दरवाजा खोला, ये भी और वो भी, वहां से तलाशी की ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो वहां से निकला 3 पोस्टर है, हमें नहीं पता। सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्ट, उन्हें बस वही तीर पर लिखा है, उस पर ये माल वालों की धमकी है, आप सुधर जाओ, गलत काम करते हैं। क्या करना अंदर?
नहीं, उससे पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला?
नहीं, जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबियां उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं कि हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनको नागाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अबे छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता, मुझे 10:15 बजे मैंने हमसाय को फोन, मेरे साथ था, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब को।
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan, and we begin with news that is not so encouraging, viewers. We were praying hard for the survival of the 3 critically injured in the 10/11 blasts at Red Fort, outside Red Fort. But the latest death toll has now gone up from 9 to 12. Those 3 critically injured have succumbed to their wounds and the injuries. That's what we have been given to understand. So overall, 12 dead. There are 8 who have been identified. 4 of them are yet to be identified. 31 people in all were injured. Some of them have been discharged while others continue to be in hospital at the LNJP facility, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi, soon after touching down from Bhutan, went straight across and from the airport straight to the hospital to meet them. Anvit now joins us with the details. Anvit, is it the 3 severely and critically injured who are battling with for life, have they now succumbed? Is there confirmation from the hospital? Anvit, can you hear me?
Yes, Anand, yes.
Anvit, yes. So the death toll now goes up to 12?
Yes, so 12 people are dead. This has been confirmed to CNN News 18, and 8 of them have been identified. While the number of injured, total who have injured in this incident, is 31. The kind of injuries there is includes burns and grievous injuries to other areas, and also these injuries are crucial not just from the medical perspective but also from the investigators, because the kind of burns this is, it will also help them identify exactly what chemicals were used and what mixture of chemicals and fuel were used to harm them. So total death toll is now 12, that has been confirmed. 8 of them have been identified, by 4 remain to be identified now.
So 8 have been identified. Do we know who are the 4? Are there women involved in the number of dead? Are there any minors? Do we have any details of the 12 who are dead? And in the 31 injured, have many been discharged, or are all 31 still in hospital?
See, some of them were discharged because they had minor injuries, but majority of them still continue to remain under strict medical supervision. While those who are dead, those who remain unidentified, their bodies are in a shape that it's very hard to recognize. Some of them are amputated, some of them are completely burned beyond recognition. So this is the reason why they could not be identified. Their DNA samples have been taken, and those who had come to claim the bodies of those people, some bodies are also unclaimed. One of the bodies, we are told, is of a 56-year-old man who is completely mutilated, completely in a bad shape and burnt and charred. So that body also has remained unclaimed. So there are some bodies that are unclaimed. There are some amputated body parts. So these are very difficult to to corroborate as to which part belongs to. So these 4 bodies that remain unidentified, this is for the reason that they have been they have been damaged beyond recognition. So that is the reason why they remain unidentified.
Right, we've got more news coming through, and we'll just stay on with us. The tracked along with the Brezza. The red Ecosport has now been tracked. It's also been seized. The location was in a village in Faridabad. It has a Delhi registration number. DL10CK0458 is the number. Cops have now seized this red Ecosport in Haryana. This Ecosport is linked to Umar Nabi, Dr. Umar Nabi, who is a suicide bomber who was driving the I-20 at the Red Fort signal, Suneri Masjid signal. How is it linked with him? Because the FASTag number is linked to Umar Nabi and his phone number. Anshul now joins us with more. We have images of this red Ecosport. It seems to be parked at one place. Was it left there? Has it been left there abandoned? What are the details? Where in Faridabad was this Ecosport found, Anshul?
Well, the exact location where this Ecosport has been found is approximately 10 kilometers away from the Al Falah University, and it is being said at this point in time that this vehicle was parked over there for the last 7 to 8 days, and it did not enter the national capital near about the time when this entire blast had happened. In fact, 48 hours ago, when the I-20 was when the I-20 came over here and the blast happened, there is no entry into the national capital that has happened. The vehicle was abandoned at that very time when the initial raids were happening by the Jammu Kashmir police. That is around 10 days before now. When Muzammil was arrested around 9 days before now, Umar got to know that Muzammil has been arrested, and the hands of the laws could get very, very close to him, and that could be one of the reasons why he decided to park a vehicle at a secluded location inside a village in Faridabad, and then charted out a plan as to how he can escape and then eventually carry out this entire blast as well. The vehicle has been recovered at this point in time.
Anything found inside the vehicle?
Nothing has been found inside the vehicle at this point in time. However, the SOPs have been pressed in. The bomb disposal squads and other squads have been called in to look inside the vehicle. But at this point in time, nothing suspicious has been found. No person has been found around the vehicle as well.
Okay, so 10 kilometers from the Al Falah University is where Umar Nabi seems to have dumped this vehicle the moment he realized that the cops were hot on their heels and there were arrests that are being made. Anshul, that's what you're telling us. Any update on the Brezza that is linked to Dr. Shaheen? Any update on that vehicle? Because there is doubt that it may have explosives on board.
Well, yes, searches are being conducted for that at this point in time. The NIA is also looking into this entire matter. Another vehicle that was linked to Dr. Shaheen, that was already taken into custody. That was a Maruti Suzuki, and from that vehicle, the assault rifle was recovered, and that is the reason why this suspicion has again come up, that this another vehicle which is yet again registered in the name of Shaheen. In that as well, there could be some suspicious material or explosive devices, explosive material that could still be inside that vehicle, and hence a search operation has been launched. It is likely that it could also be stationed very well inside the limits of Faridabad as well.
Right, Anshul and Anvit, thank you for your input. So we are tracking the developments very closely. Multiple angles to this entire 10-11 blast and the Al-Falah module, linking not just back to Jammu and Kashmir, but deep-rooted radicalization and grooming of educated individuals and white-collar Maulvi, and was in charge of the Naugam Mosque, and from there this entire outfit network was being operated, and clear handling and the handlers based out of Pakistan and also in Turkey with clear connections with jihadi tanzeems like the Jaish. There are other connections also emerging. We'll speak about that, and also other concerns that should also occupy the minds and thoughts of those who are overseeing the strategy and administration. Was also discussed in the CCS. Perhaps it was as to what is the strategy and the modus operandi that's being operated or that's being adopted by these radicals and these terror outfits now. It's not just the economically poor or backward, or those who are uneducated, people who would do something in desperation. These are educated individuals who are being groomed. What is going to be Bharat's next step? Let's get into that. The investigation continues into the deadly Red Fort terror attack, which the latest in the probe is confirmed the Delhi blast was a Jaish-inspired Fedayeen attack. A 10-member NIA team is leading the probe, with forensic experts analyzing samples from the site. Exclusive CCTV visuals from the Red Fort control room capture the exact moment of the explosion at 6:50 p.m. on the 10th of November, that's Monday. A bright flash at the Red Fort Chowk is seen as crowds move through. The I-20 car used in the blast was tracked across Connaught Place and Mayur Vihar, suggesting a deliberate route to salutes because it spilled over into multiple districts all around Delhi and NCR. Now, fresh CCTV from Faridabad Sector 37, dated October 29, shows the prime suspect Dr. Umar with Tariq from Pulwama, the final owner of the I-20 car, likely on a recce. Maulvi Irfan Ahmed from Shopian, a cleric and a paramedic or a former paramedic from the Government Medical College in Srinagar, accused of radicalizing the doctors and the alleged mastermind of the terror module, is being grilled to unearth the extent of the terror nexus. Meanwhile, another doctor, Tajammul Ahmed Malik, has been detained for questioning over possible links to the entire terror cell. So it's a string of doctors from Adil, Muzammil, Umar, there is Shaheen, there are two other lady doctors who are facilitators who studied at Dhaka Engineering College, Dhaka Medical College, and interned under Maulvi Irfan, and now Tajammul Malik. There is the doctor in Gujarat who is looking at something far more diabolical, using ricin and a biochemical terror attack or a bioterror attack, trying to murder innocents by in huge numbers by adulterating water and prasad at temples, etc. All of these are medical professionals, educated individuals who have been so far radicalized that they are ready to work and not just undertake terror activities, but further create sleeper cells and further radicalize individuals around them. Kulbir Krishan, former IPS and ex-member of the NSAB with us, Lieutenant General S. Harimon Iyer with us, former Chief of Staff, Northern Command, Ambassador Deepak Vora, former diplomat with us, and also Sushant Sareen. My namaste and Jai Hind to everybody. Thank you for your time. Kulbir Krishanji, I'd like to start with you. This trend of creating and grooming white-collared radicals, is this a new one, or has this been a phenomena for a while?
It's been there for a while, but the extent which has been done this time is new. and doctors in particular have not really been used so much, and this ring of doctors, they are like doctors of death rather than doctors of treatment. But educated people being radicalized has been there for the last 10-15 years, and it's been more in South India than in the North, but it's there and it has to be tackled. In fact, I would like to take you back to an explosion which occurred in Burdwan on 2nd October 2014, which was done by Jamiatul Mujahideen Bangladesh. It was a bomb which exploded accidentally, but their wives were caught, and they had been running a women's cell of the JMB.
Yeah.
So here, when you form a women's cell, it is something which was done at least 10 years back, and that time also the NIA had taken over, charge sheeted the case. The main accused managed to flee back to Bangladesh, but the case was charge sheeted and gave good results. So here also we have to double back on radicalization, and universities, the colleges, the classmates, the faculty, the family members, all have to be alert, because it can't be done just by the police or the security agencies.
General Harmohan Nair, your thoughts? If I may ask, because Jammu and Kashmir, in that region, oftentimes this has been spoken about. They were all branded as OGWs. If you were to say hybrid terrorists, you were supposed to say white collar terrorists, people would say, why brand them thus? And then largely this whole narrative was they are all economically backward, they are from very humble beginnings and they can be fooled, they are gullible, etc. This lot doesn't seem to be gullible. And it mirrors what the likes of Masood Azhar and Rauf Asghar were saying on the other side, where they called for women to start recruiting, facilitating and start forming these cells and grooming individuals.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on your show, and good evening to all your fellow panelists. Firstly, my experience with Kashmiri doctors was during the COVID period, and I was working with them in J&K, in both Jammu and Kashmir region. And I found them to be a very professional lot of people. In fact, I was very appreciative of the way they came forward and helped us in entire J&K. So to that extent, when I look at the current set of people who got involved in terror, it's an eye-opener. At least from J&K, I had not seen these kind of people being involved in terror. What we saw was, like you said, young youths under 20, 21 years of age, misled by people. You had those Burhan Wani kind of people, Facebook prodigies, people who wanted to show their youth to the people. Not these kind of people. And second issue which actually is bothering me is it only Delhi or is it pan-India? Because you find these people go for education all over India. So if radicalization has spread amongst them, people go for engineering and medical college education across India. They are given seats in almost all engineering and medical colleges across India. If that be so, where all these people have infiltrated and whatever level up to which they have got radicalized, this is a very, very major lesson to be taken from this event that has happened. And I am sure our intelligence and security agencies are working into these angles, because it's a dangerous precedent, and to have 3,000 kgs of explosives and being managed by people like them, all having facilities, capabilities, multiple vehicles, communication, and possibly even reach, because these people may have been treating or attending to patients of in service and in various level of government agencies. So I don't know how much these people have infiltrated, and that is a bigger cause of concern as of now, because I never thought that this kind of people will also get involved in terrorist kind of activities.
Most of them, we are given to understand, are between their early and mid-30s, Ambassador Deepak Vora. But the fact is, the common point is this Irfan character, who turned Maulvi But before that, he was a paramedic at GMC, and all these people have studied at GMC. In fact, the two lady doctors who are also now currently under the radar and have been detained for facilitation, they also, from Dhaka Medical College, they also came to intern at the GMC Srinagar when Irfan was there. Then moves to become the Maulvi of a mosque in Nogam. And under him, those acolytes who come to listen to those sermons were the three people who were putting up the Jaish posters that were also recovered from Irfan's cupboard when the cops went there. There again in the presence of a magistrate. So, these 8 years he's been in touch with all of them and he's been grooming them.
Thank you very much. A pleasure, sir, as always, to learn from you and from my colleagues who are there. Mr. Saleen is there. I see our police officer. I see our other colleague. Their knowledge is much greater than mine. Let me just put it to you. The Delhi blast was the day the medical profession died. Old Hippocrates would have turned over in his grave. I have a message here from my group. I've just returned from the US, from my walking group, early morning group of doctors, of academics. One of them, I'll just read briefly the message. It was a condolence, my ambassador, very sorry. I promise you, please listen to this, sir. I promise you, if I go to a hospital and my doctor is a Muslim, I will not be treated by him. Telling me this. I don't know how many other people feel this. So if these fellows have tried to murder and have murdered so many Indian citizens, they've also murdered the profession. Now, when you've talked about educated people, always think, "Bhai, padhai kara do iski, koi garib aadmi hai, padha likha nahi hai, it's easy to sway him." No, it's not. The aam aadmi, the chap on the street, will not go in for this. He'll do a quick assessment, ye karne se mujhe kya fayda hoga. But these people, at the top of their professions, at the top of the social hierarchy, for them to do it. And sir, may I just say to you also that when we talk about radicalization, that's not the right word. For me, it's suicidation. They are made, they want to kill them and take others because the tenets of Islam, sir, please forgive me for not being politically correct. What is it? It's reproduction. If you get married, have 300 children. It's conversion, convert as many as you can, and it convert, eliminate them. These are the three basic tenets. Then became an imam, etc., etc. Do these three? I'm sure they don't, because their brains have gone. There is, instead of brain, there is ricin in their brains, sir. I think their parents infected them with ricin, because your mindset is formed in the first 10 years of your life. That's when your parents play the most important role. And I think these guys were injected with ricin. How can anybody? I failed. I'm angry, sir. One of my friends lost his son. I'm angry, sir. This shouldn't be happening. And hats off to our investigating agents. Did a brilliant job in dotting the T's and dotting the I's and crossing the T's and tracing the whole movement. May I just simply say, sir, now, I'm sorry I get very upset about this, so forgive me. May I just say that Bharat has changed that night, sir. And now we are going to look at everybody from this community with suspicion. And my driver, my PSO, this up, yahan mat jaiye, Musalman ki dukaan hai. What do I tell them, sir? Do I be politically correct and the great guy, oh, we are secular? Like hell we are secular. What about secularism from these guys? Did the character who blew himself up know whether the chaps in the car next to him were Hindus or Muslims or Christians or Sikhs? He couldn't care less. He wants his 72, whatever he gets in his demented paradise. So my own feelings are, now every citizen of this country has to be a citizen soldier. ये दूसरे का काम है, ये मेरा काम नहीं, नहीं sir, नहीं sir. We are developing already much greater security sense that we will not stand for this anymore. And Jihadistan, where it originated, sir, there's no point, Mr. Saleen may agree or may not agree with me, there's no point being nice to these people. One of my foreign service colleagues says, let's engage with them. I say, send them an engagement ring. We've been engaging with them for 75 years. What have we got? Nothing. The only way is to eliminate them, sir. Break them up so that they are never... you can't change their minds. Just break them up so that they are not in a position to hurt us. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding terrible, sir, but then I am angry today, sir.
There are many who would be angry, and there is a situation where those who are not part of it, or those who don't think like this, belonging to the same community, get broad brushed. The intent is not to broad brush and call everyone a terrorist. That's not the case. But the fact is that unless the community overall at large comes out and outrightly dismisses such elements and says no, they don't represent us, and say that this is not how India or any Indian will think, then there is going to be a problem. And this is what also allows the enemy to further. It's a heads I win, tails you lose kind of a situation for the radicals. The act of a few then broad brushes the entire community. Then that community feels that the brunt of it from those who are not from that community. There is a fissure in society, and then these radicals get to try and capitalize on that again. But the other thing you said is the mindset. You can break their backs, but you can't change their mind. Now, what do we do in a situation like that? Sushant Sareen, thank you for your patience. Go ahead, please.
Look, this is not the first time phenomena it has unleashed itself over the centuries. Go back 100, 150 years back, and the areas which were then in India, now in Pakistan and Afghanistan, witnessed a lot of upsurge, including areas in the Hindi heartland, the Gangetic Plain. The British took cognizance of it and they cracked down and they wiped it out. And you have to understand one thing, this is most dumbing down of terrorism is done when you bring in this leftist socialist ideology and try and apply it to them and say that, poverty or education, and you will see people, including in this government, say that if we give them computers, things will improve. No, it will not. It's good to educate people of your country, citizens of your country, but you have to be very clear. Poverty, it's not about lack of education, it's about an ideology, it's about a political ideology. For a better word, I'll call it Islamism. And very clearly, this is what you have to combat. Now, please tell me, Anand, you have been watching this entire for at least more than a decade that I have known you. I've been watching it for almost 390s when this thing erupts in India, and now we are talking about 35 years. Please tell me how at the psychological level, at the ideological and at the political level, in the sense that political level, what I mean is that, we've seen some of the statements coming out from people of Samajwadi Party today, including people of the Congress Party. I can understand opposition politicians targeting the government and questioning how come this cell was operating, why wasn't it busted earlier? Again, that criticism is disingenuous, because had you busted it earlier, you would have then attached some political motive to it. But I can still understand that kind of criticism. What I can't understand is the kind of statements we've heard from some former MPs of Samajwadi Party and others. And what this does is that it actually gives covering fire to terrorism. It makes it sound kosher. And it gives an impression that, look, if you've done something and even if you get caught, maybe tomorrow the government will change and you will get off, which we have seen. People, cases being withdrawn, dreaded terrorists being given Ayurvedic massages in Kerala, all kinds of things we have seen in this country. So you haven't fought it at the political level. You haven't said that this is a red line, no political party will cross, no matter what the vote bank politics is. Second, please tell me, have you combated it at the ideological level? Do you even know what you're talking about? Do you even know how to do it? And I don't agree with Ambassador Vora out here. His broad brushing. I can understand his anger, but I don't agree with him, in so far as how to combat it. That is not the ideological way of combating it. That's a knee-jerk reaction which comes out, which is very normal. But at an ideological level, you need to combat it. You need to have a strategy to be able to do it. And then, of course, is the operational level at which you need to start combating it. So I think when you look at something and then for somebody to express surprise that how come people from who are professionals are getting into this. Look, yeah, the poor guy on the street is too poor to get into all this nonsense, right? He has to eke out an existence for himself. Maybe at best he'll become a foot soldier. Maybe he'll become some kind of cannon fodder.
Yeah.
But he is not the kind of a guy who will do this kind of planning. And there are enough studies to tell you that it is maybe it's the lower middle class and the higher class guys who get involved in it. Any number of cases I'll give you. People from LSE have been involved in it. People from American universities.
Yeah.
People from top Indian doctors. This is not the first set of doctors that have been caught doing this kind of stuff. Maybe this network is really centered around doctors and doctors spread across the country. But this is not the first time doctors have been found involved in this kind of activity. So I think there is a certain amount of clarity we need when we are talking about terrorism. Unfortunately, I haven't seen enough of that insofar as the government is concerned. Please tell me, Anand, one last point. Please tell me how many people in this country today, we claim that our interaction with Islam, right? How many people in this country, and I'm not talking about the WhatsApp university, right, who have actually understand where this thing comes from within Islam, how this has to be combated, how many people understand?
Right. But I just want to bring in another dynamic, because you said this is an ideological mindset. This is a mindset and this is a push. There is a thrust. Ambassador Deepak Vora outlined 3 core aspects. There is also this whole thing called Ghazwa-e-Hind. Now, this entire Ghazwa-e-Hind is more than 1,000-year-old phenomenon of fact that this is the land that remains to be conquered, and they have to, and it is mandated that this has to be conquered for the supremacy of a and the supremacy of a particular political ideology. Turkey and a Dhaka connection should concern us immensely. The network that expands beyond Bharat. Intelligence agencies have confirmed that 2 accused, Adil and Muzammil, travelled to Turkey earlier this year, where they allegedly changed their stay, indicating a structured international network. Digital forensic analysis has yielded over 400 encrypted chats between the 2 women doctors, including Dr. Shaheen Shahid, discussing funding, logistics and through digital wallets between 2023 and 2024. Both women graduated from Dhaka Medical College and met Maulvi Irfan during their internship in Srinagar at the Government Medical College, when Irfan at that time was not a Maulvi but a paramedic. Now, this phase investigations also now call the turning point in their radicalization. So it's all happened under Irfan, and they've all studied at that GMC Srinagar, and this is that group which continued to stay in touch, and Irfan continued to radicalize them and engage with them and groom them. Now, sources say the network was digitally skilled, financially backed from abroad, and aimed to establish a pan-Bharat sleeper cell structure. And that's where all the other doctors come into the picture. Intel sources also say that logistical, diplomatic and financial support is also coming to terror groups from Turkey. Sources say Turkey's National Intelligence Organization and state-backed NGOs are systematically supporting radical groups like the Jamaat-e-Islami, Hizbul Mujahideen, and also the Popular Front of India, which now stands banned. So, students, minds, youth, youngsters from Kashmir and also from Kerala are being groomed systematically. Moreover, intelligence agencies are concerned about radicalization spillover from Bharat into Bangladesh. Around 8,500 Bharatiya medical students, largely from Jammu and Kashmir, are studying in Bangladesh, and post the 2024 crisis, groups concentrated across Dhaka, Sylhet, Rajshahi and Chittagong medical colleges. Sources say they have become a target for ideological grooming under the JMB and also the student wings of the terror entities that have entered these campuses. Also, we are saying that the ISI has officially opened a branch there in Dhaka, and they will also look to engage and groom some of these minds, some of these vulnerable students there. Now, what are we doing about this? Kulbir Krishanji stays on with us, Ambassador Deepak Vora is with us, Sushant Sareen stays on, and General Harimon Iyer also stays on. Now, Ambassador Deepak Vora, this is a bigger challenge. Those who are ideologically inclined and motivated are busy weaponizing minds. What are we doing, sir? How are we going to protect ourselves from what's happening around the neighborhood?
So why do you refer to it as an ideology? What is their ideology? I'm sorry, I don't understand. Their ideology is Sharia. Their ideology is governments don't matter, borders don't matter.
Yeah.
It's Allah who matters. And what he said so many hundreds of years ago, the glory of Islam. How many countries have they converted to Islam after the Prophet transitioned? One was created, that fool. It's run by some mad mullah called, I think Munni Bhai or something is the fellow's name, calls himself a fool marshal. I mean, how many countries have been converted to Islam, sir? I would like to know. What ideology? Who adheres to that ideology other than the Islamic country, 57, and amongst them also not many do. Turkey used to be totally secular till this buffoon came along. So my question here is, when you say, how do we deal with it? How do you purify the mind? How do you remove the ricin from the mind? And you remove it by banning the madrasas. You remove it by making sure that these kids there get a proper education. You make sure that they are hit, that they are hurt very badly. They are eliminated, sir. Use their... I don't see any other way. We've tried soft peddling, we've tried mollycoddling these guys. What has happened, sir? What the doctors did? Sir, I don't know. To my mind, the only good terrorist is a dead terrorist, sir. That's the solution that we should follow, sir.
Etc. They are radicalizing and entering into and engaging with students to try and weaponize them against Bharat. You see that trend there in Bangladesh?
It's true, because you know that the running government is the illegal government chief, Professor Yunus. He is the puppet of the radical Islam, actually, and they are nursing the anti-India hat factory. And they are using every fundamental organizations, whether it is political, cultural, or other organizations, to to breeding the fundamental groups, to organize them. And one of their core political agenda is establishing or promoting hatred against India. This is one of their political cards. This is one of their political tools. They use this to cover up their domestic failures. They use this to appeasing the fundamental groups. Just they just have stronghold their. They are using educational institutions also. Islamic Chhatra Shibir, students organization of Jamaat Islam. They are highly affiliated to the Jamaat Islam of Pakistan. They are previous linkage with ISI, and they have huge network with other international terrorist organizations. There are huge examples of their members actively engaging in terrorist activities. So they are now freely campaigning, organizing in the educational institutions, in the universities, and the state machinery is also supporting them by giving training programs, by giving other priorities to this sort of organizational members. So these are happening randomly, and also that the involvement with Pakistan as a state and other that private organizations, terrorist organizations, radical Islamist organizations, they are freely moving around Bangladesh. They are doing that thing, those things, and ISI officers are randomly visiting Bangladesh. So this is a threat for Bangladesh also. This is actually a humiliation for our the independence war legacy, and it also it is also make the people Bangladesh more unsafe. I think it become a ground for a playground for the international terrorist network, actually.
Right, Kulbir Krishanji, what do we do?
See, Bangladesh is clearly in the hands of fundamentalist Islamic forces, and Yunus has been playing along. In fact, he denies that there are any atrocities on Hindus or Christians or other minorities, and the way the Jamaat-e-Islami and its cohorts are ruling the roost, it's very clear that till he is there, we are going to have a very tough time. But we have so many levers, and I do not understand why we do not use them to bring him to heel. You know, just like he says that India's northeast is landlocked by Bangladesh. Well, Bangladesh itself is landlocked by India. They have only a small border with Myanmar, you know, and their rice comes from us, their beef comes from us, their oil comes from us, you know. They'll starve to death if we stop all these things. And that's all. These non-kinetic measures have to be taken to bring, you know, if their inflation goes to 100%, what will happen to Yunus? Secondly, as far as Turkey is concerned, it's a much more serious problem. And we have been, you know, playing up Greece and Armenia, you know, and building up relations with them and providing them arms, etc. But Turkey also, I feel that the Riot Act has to be read out to them. Most of you may not be aware, during the time of partition, there was a Muslim League slogan which said, "Haste haste liya hai Pakistan, ladke lenge Hindustan." This ideology is there in Field Marshal Munir. And, you know, although Operation Sindoor should have knocked some sense into him, it has only inflated his ego. So we are in a very tough position, but to fight on all fronts, you know.
Right. Sometimes it is good to be bad, sir, and good people. That doesn't take you away from being a good person. But nice people finish last. You can't afford to be nice.
Fact,
There's a difference between being good and nice. I have limited time, so we'll take this forward because there is also the election season, viewers. So just dedicating some attention there. Even as today's Chanakya gives the NDA 160 seats in its projections, the larger question is the MY factor now changing? It's no longer Muslim Yadav but Mahila Yuva. Yashwant Deshmukh joins us. We're counting down to the results of Bihar, but what's happened in the run-up is also historic. For the first time, Bihar has seen elections in two phases. For the first time, perhaps in 20 years, that there has been a systematic voter rolls and huge pruning that's happened. But despite all of that, amidst all allegations of vote chori, it's been an unprecedented voter turnout. The overall base of voters itself have turned out to huge numbers. What does this mean? And especially around when there are a lot of projections which say that the incumbent may just come back stronger just because of the kind of people and the way people have come out and voted in Bihar. Let's just go across and understand the mind of the voter in Bihar and what these trends actually can be and how they can be inferred with someone who's a seasoned cephalogist who's put out numbers in the past, but he's analyzing the polls this time around and also the developments in Bihar. Yashwant Deshmukh is with us. Yashwantji, namaste.
Namaste. Namaste, how are you doing?
Very good. Aap kaise? Now tell me, sir, usually there are outliers and there are people who will have different projections, but if you just go by the pure election data, election commission data, are you impressed with the voter turnout in?
Absolutely. This is unprecedented in every possible way, and please do not get confused with the lower denominator and what was the 5 years back and the purging of SIR and the percentage is not the new story. This is all, kind of whataboutery. I think what females of Bihar have achieved this time is unprecedented in every possible way. Forget the percentage and everything. The sheer fact that 4 lakh more women have voted than males. That itself has turned the equation upside down. No matter who wins, I'm not going into that. That kind of prediction thing is something which... but the Bihar election has reset the tone, and I'm saying this with all seriousness, that the MY factor that defined the Bihar elections for long in terms of Muslim and Yadav, that has gone for a toss. The new MY is Mahila and Yuva. That's what it is all about. And if Tejasvi Yadav manages to win this election, there are only three outcomes, right? Number one, Tejasvi Yadav wins. That will put the entire issue of unemployment in the center stage. You know, and it's critical because all our trackers all year along, the mood of the nation, even the Bihar trackers have been saying that, you know, the unemployment issue is the issue right now in front of everyone. So the new voter, the Yuva voter, and the issue of unemployment will come center stage. Now, that's something which will be unprecedented because every politician worth the salt in this country will have to then think about that issue on how to go about in future elections. The problem with Tejasvi Yadav's thing is that only problem is that the solution that he has suggested of Sarkari Naukri, everybody knows it's unsustainable, and that will, you know, kind of, if politicians across the country feel like that, okay, if you promise Sarkari Naukri, this is how you are going to win the election, and that is going to take a different way, the way India is governed in the next 20 years, 10 years, and what kind of fiscal implication that would carry. I mean, that's a different debate altogether. But if Tejasvi Yadav wins, then the debate of unemployment. Second option, the new entrant, the X Factor, Prashant Kishore becomes a king or kingmaker, whichever way you look at it. An issue of the policies on the basic structure of the development will come in the fundamentals of development and how you are going about it, and that might make a difference for the young politicians who are upcoming and say that, oh, on any caste driven baseline, he has no legacy, neither something like Andolan to prop up Aam Aadmi Party, nor all the cine stars, newcomers, all the new stars. So no political legacy, no cinema legacy, yet purely on the merit of being on the ground, he has kind of gained the traction and substantial traction. So if that happens, that will affect the way the politics is governed or done in this country in a long run. But, a big but, if Nitish Kumar manages to win again, and that would be purely on the shoulder of the female voters, you know, I really believe will bring the largest vote bank of this country, which is almost 50% in the center stage, which would be caste agnostic, religion agnostic, which would be purely on the agenda of the generational policies, because I don't consider Nitish Kumar giving, as everybody is calling it, as a one-time freebie like Eknath Shinde, or for that matter in Jharkhand Hemant Soren, or for that matter even in Madhya Pradesh Shivraj Singh Chauhan, because these people did not have that kind of emotional connect with the female voters of that state. It was more of a Kumar's connect with the females is altogether different, because he started 20-25 years back giving the bicycles, you know, giving the poshak, giving the scholarship, then of course giving money to the girl child's parent when they graduated, and now the 10,000. So the girl, imagine the school going girl which received a bicycle 20 years back, is a mother now, is a housemaker, is an aspiring entrepreneur. That emotional connect of looking at Nitish Kumar as a father figure is a politician whomsoever in this country at this point of time. So be very careful. There is one Yuva vote. If that turnout is of Yuva and change maker, then you have a different story. Issue on unemployment getting into center stage. Who deals with unemployment in which way? That's another story. Sustainable, unsustainable, we don't know. But if Nitish Kumar wins, then you are likely to see a big chunk of futuristic politicians who would like to invest in generational policies and reap the benefits over next 15-20 years to come.
Correct. But in this case, you're confident that within the NDA, the JDU will do much better than 2020. And if that happens, automatically the JDU and the NDA strike rate should improve. The other aspect is how important is the social sentiment on ground. The fact that women can work late hours, people can go out, law and order largely is far more improved in terms of Sushasana compared to the Lalu Raj or the Jungle Raj. But interestingly, to counter that or counterbalance that, more than 45% of this current voter base has not seen Jungle Raj or anything beyond Nitish Raj. It's either always been Nitish who's been the thing. So if the pollsters also, you were to look at the projections of various pollsters, Yashwantji, most of them have given a clean, comfortable win to the NDA. Nobody is given, there's no outlier who's saying the MGB will clear the halfway mark. Nobody is saying that. Nor is anybody saying that Jansuraj will have enough numbers to play kingmaker in a particular scenario. That means this seems to be the incumbent coming back, perhaps a little more stronger than
Nitish Kumar's equation, yes. I mean, what I am not very sure, because I have generally seen only the seat share projections which mean nothing actually, unless they are giving actually vote share projection, and I would love to see what vote projections the male-female projections are there for the voting intent, and also among the age groups, it's the 18 to 30 years having a different kind of thing, and within that age group also if there is any gender variation. What I feel for sure is that throughout our trackers and everything before this election, and as we are doing the post poll, which we'll be releasing on 14 once the election is out, because that's an academic thing to explain the mandate. That's what we are going to do.
Right.
But two things which are very clear, that this election is about breaking the stereotypes.
Right.
You know, we have statistical example of upper caste or Prashant Kishore on the issue of migration and the unemployment. You know, and as you just said that the big chunk of the youth who was not even born when Jungle Raj memory was there. So obviously that is an important aspect. So youth are going to vote on the issue of migration and issue of unemployment. That is going to be broken. Second thing, similarly on the other side, females even from the conservative backdrop of Yadav and Muslim families, not 100% are going to vote for them. There is going to be a chunk, there is going to be breakaway faction, and definitely all across the Bihar, there would be female voters who will be voting absolutely unlike their male counterparts or their family, purely on the issue of what they are getting from. Doubt about that. So these two vote banks are going to break the stereotype, break the analyze now Bihar purely from the caste to these new equations which are emerging, which are bound to be replicated by the other states, by the way, bound to be replicated. And if they do not get ready for that kind of futuristic analysis, what is coming, I think they will be reading the entire mandate completely wrong, this way or that way.
True. Fair point that you make, and come result day, we look forward to you joining us live to then also further analyze the numbers as they settle in, and we know who the eventual winner is and by what margin. That's going to be critical. Even the vote share will come into play, and who voted for whom, we'll also get those that information. Whether or not Bihar breaks stereotypes, sets new paradigms for election psephologists, and also for election planning and election strategy going forward for other state elections, that perhaps would also become very, very clear. Yashwant Deshmukh ji, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for your time. And on that note, we're going to call it a wrap on this edition of The Right Stand. Namaste. Thank you for watching.
Co-presented. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं कि इस हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनको नावगाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अबे छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसाय को फोन, मेरे साथ आओ, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन, मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते है इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। मैं चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ। मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद पुलिस आए, दिन को 4 बजे आया वो मजिस्ट्रेट साथ, वो सरदार है सब इंस्पेक्टर। उसे बोला फारूक साहब चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा। हमने दरवाजा खोला, ये भी और वो भी, वहां से तलाशी की ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर है। हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नौगामा में चस्पान हुआ। उन्हें बस वही तीर पर लिखा है, उस पर ये माल वालों की धमकी है, अब सुधर जाओ, गलत काम करते हैं। और
उससे पहले किसी ने ताला खोला था कमरे का?
नहीं, 18 दिन उन्हीं के पास है।
पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला?
नहीं, जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबियां उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं कि इस हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनको नावगाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अबे छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसाय को फोन, मेरे साथ आओ, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन, मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते है इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। मैं चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ। मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। वो 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद पुलिस आए, दिन को 4 बजे आया वो मजिस्ट्रेट साथ। चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा। के 3 पोस्टर है, हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नौगामा में चस्पान हुआ। उन्हें बस वही तीर पर लिखा है, उस पर ये माल वालों की धमकी है। 18 दिन उन्हीं के पास है। हम अंदर गए, क्या करना अंदर?
नहीं, उससे पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला?
नहीं, जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबियां उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered from the room of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं किस हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनके नागाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अबे छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसाय को फोन मेरे साथ था, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन, मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते हैं इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। मैं चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन किया थाने पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ। मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। वो 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद पुलिस आए दिन को 4 बजे, आया वो मजिस्ट्रेट साथ था। उसने बोला फारूक साहब चाबी ले जाओ, तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा। हमने दरवाजा खोला, वहां से तलाशी की ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो वहां से निकला। हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नागामा में चस्पान हुआ। उन्हें बस वही तीर पर लिखा है, उस पर ये माल वालों की धमकी है, अब सुधर जाओ, गलत काम करते हैं। और
उससे पहले किसी ने ताला खोला था कमरे का?
नहीं 18 दिन हम अंदर गए, क्या करना अंदर।
नहीं, उससे पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला था?
नहीं, जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे।
This is News 18 Network. India's network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were recovered of this Maulvi by the police after they opened the lock of the room in front of the magistrate.
पुलिस ने फोन किया, पता नहीं किस हमसाय ने मेरा फोन नंबर दिया, वरना मुझे उनके नागाम के साथ वास्ता नहीं है, मुझे छानपोरा के साथ, अबे छानपोरा थाना आता है। फिर मैं इधर एक और आदमी में डर गया, पुलिस क्यों ढूंढता मुझे 10:15 बजे। मैंने हमसाय को फोन मेरे साथ था, वो आया इधर, यहाँ बोला उसने फारूक साहब कौन, मैं हूँ इमाम साहब का। इमाम साहब के पता नहीं क्या शाहमत है, इमाम साहब को ढूंढता है, ये घर गया आज। मैंने बोला इमाम साहब यहाँ रहते हैं इधर, हाँ दे दो चाबी। मैं चाबी हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबी उसी के पास है। फिर वो सब इंस्पेक्टर ने फोन पर या किसको किया, फिर वो गया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, इस चैनल पर हाथ लगाया, वहां से निकल गई इस गेट की चाबी।
उसके बाद
इस चाबी निकली, फिर उन्होंने इधर एक चाबी दरवाजा खोला, फिर गया अंदर कमरे के साथ। मैंने बोला ये चाबी भी उसी के पास है। उन्होंने मैसेज दिया उनको कि ये चाबी भी मौलवी साहब के पास है। फिर उन्होंने बोला रखो, जब जरूरत पड़ेगी फिर हम आएंगे। वो 18 दिन आया नहीं है। 18 दिन के बाद मजिस्ट्रेट साथ था, वो सरदार है सब इंस्पेक्टर। तो चलो खोलो दरवाजा, खोला, ये भी और वो भी। वहां से तलाशी की ठीक ठाक से बजट के, तो वहां से निकला जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर है। हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नागामा में चस्पान हुआ। उन्हें बस वही तीर पर लिखा है, उस पर ये माल वालों की धमकी है, अब सुधर जाओ, गलत काम करते हैं। और
उससे पहले किसी ने ताला खोला था कमरे का?
नहीं 18 दिन उसी के उन्हीं के पास है। हम अंदर गए, क्या करना अंदर।
नहीं, उससे पहले पुलिस ने तो नहीं खोला?
नहीं, जिस दिन पहले गिरफ्तार उस दिन भी नहीं खोला, क्योंकि चाबियां हमारे पास नहीं है, चाबियां उसी के पास है।
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
And in yet another exclusive, News 18 has also spoken to a Masjid Committee Chairman Farooq Ahmed on the link with the Maulvi Irfan. He has said that 3 posters of Jaish Mohammed were written.
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. A white-collar network, a module of educated professionals and doctors at that, nothing less than that. They were at the heart and center of a terror module that was busted in the national capital, but unfortunately one of those members went on to create a blast, which is one of the worst terror attacks that Delhi has seen in over a decade. Monday evening, over 10 people have died, and it could have been far worse given the actual amount of explosives that were recovered in Faridabad, close to 3 of ammonium nitrate. But these individuals, and what is stark and different and quite sinister about these individuals, is that a large number of them happen to be doctors. At least 5 of them happen to be doctors. The person who was the suspected suicide bomber, Dr. Umar Nabi, who blew himself up just outside the Red Fort, right in the heart of the national capital. Now these highly educated, well-to-do, affluent doctors, who by the way have been sworn his oath to be the saviors of life and not the destroyers of life, they are the ones who are becoming the doctors of death. And the Delhi blast is not an isolated act. It's proof that this is about ideology. This is not about income or poor or rich or middle class. This is about a brainwashed ideology of killing other fellow citizens in the name of this twisted, brainwashed ideology. How long can we continue to afford to downplay this and rationalize this? This far and no further. The lines between external and internal threats are blurring, and that means India has to respond effectively, firmly, and in a multi-layered fashion. And that's exactly what was discussed today in the Cabinet Committee on Security that just met. In fact, in the next few minutes, we're likely to get a briefing by a senior cabinet minister into what was discussed and his Cabinet Committee on Security. The investigation is also deepening into the blast, and more linkages across different states are being unearthed. So let's run you through as far as the investigation is concerned. The blast took place on the same day that the Faridabad police busted a major module. From that module, they recovered something like 2,900 kilograms of explosive materials. Some part of it, perhaps he was spooked, Dr. Umar Nabi, perhaps he was spooked by this module being busted. Some part of it, he managed to escape with this I-20 car. He, in a sense of panic or haste, ran away from Faridabad, spent the next 12 hours driving through the national capital, and then at 6:52 in the evening, using that I-20 car, he used it to create this blast right outside the Red Fort. But by then, the I-20 had traversed across half a dozen districts of Delhi, separate locations. Let's run you through where those places are. Netaji Subhas Place, which is in northwest Delhi. That's the commercial and business hub, was one of the earliest points on the route once he entered Delhi, Badarpur border from Faridabad into Delhi proper. CCTV cameras have captured the suspect driving through the vehicle in the early morning hours area in northwest Delhi. Then there is Ashok Vihar, again in northwest Delhi. The police believe that the accused made a brief halt there. The locality has multiple exit routes towards central Delhi, and that makes it a convenient transit point. Then he was caught in the heart of Delhi, in Connaught Place in CP, right in central Delhi, where the vehicle was later seen passing along the outer circle of Connaught Place, is one of the most iconic and busiest parts of Delhi. Sources suggesting that the passage may have been intended for surveillance or for blending with routine traffic. Then there is Ranjit Flyover, again in central Delhi. The link, again from the CCTV images, seem to show that the flyover aligns with the same time frame as the Connaught Place footage, meaning that the car was moving further south. Then there is Delight Cinema, which is again in central Delhi, closer to Old Delhi area, a crucial waypoint that's located very close to the Red Fort area. Investigators consider this the final possible approach before the explosion happened. Then there is the Shaheed Bhagat Singh Marg in the New Delhi district, which connects Connaught Place with ITO and the Daryaganj corridor. The vehicle's presence there establishes a clear movement pattern towards the blast site. And also he was seen in the Rohtak Road, which is the road that goes out of Delhi into Haryana in North Delhi, believed to be part of an earlier escape route. A mapping effort. Rohtak Road's intercity links are now under review as well. And of course, right up first in the morning at 7 a.m., 7:15 a.m., he was seen at the Badarpur Toll Plaza in southeast Delhi. One of the most striking footages show the suspect's car crossing the toll plaza with the driver wearing a mask. The investigators say this video is the key piece of evidence that has helped piece together the entire sort of sequence of events leading up to the blast 12 hours later. My colleague Ananya Bhatnagar traced that entire route that was taken on the 10th of November from 7 a.m. till almost 7 p.m. from the Al Falah Medical College and University in Faridabad all the way to Red Fort, where the blast was executed. Here's what he found 2 days after that entire deadly car route turned out into the bomb blast at the end. Has anything changed in Delhi 2 days on? This is what he found out.
HR 26 CE 7674 used in that sinister plot that claimed over 8 lives and in fact left more than 20 injured. Now we'll be tracking down the route, and the car first was at the Al Falah University. It was seen near the Al Falah University campus, which not only was the spot where the car was spotted first, but also remains to be the biggest piece of this whole puzzle of the sinister plot that was hatched in order to create those 10-11 bomb blasts that occurred in the national capital at around 6:25 on the 10th of November evening this year, and claimed over 8 lives. After taking the route from the Al Falah University, the first thing that we saw almost after a kilometer or two is in fact this police station. In fact, it says that it's the police commissionerate of in fact the Dhauj district of Faridabad, and you can see right behind me are the police trucks, and we just crossed in fact a small barricading as well, which was there to actually check these cars out whether this barricading actually remains. When we ask the police official, they say that it's a continuous barricading that is always there under a routine, but whether or not that was there, a sinister car had actually crossed and this particular checking was going on is something that could only be cleared after investigations. This is in fact the Asian hospital where the car was actually spotted at 7 a.m. in the morning, and from towards in fact the Badarpur border in the national capital, where it finally achieved to enter the national capital territory of Delhi. Faridabad toll, from where the sinister vehicle, the vehicle HR 26 7674 entered in fact the premises of the national capital, and in fact from here on he had his ride started towards the Red Fort, and after in fact you can see CCTV cameras that were the ones that had actually captured that particular vehicle there coming into the picture. Car actually also that is also one of the key focal points where the car was actually seen. Post that the car continued towards in fact Sarai Kale Khan, and at around 8:20 it was seen in fact in the morning it was seen at a petrol pump. the DND flyway which we are on at this particular point of time. The car was spotted here, and then the next stop or the next spotting of the car happened at 2 p.m. on in fact the CP or the Connaught Place, following which it was later spotted the parking around 3 of in fact the Red Fort. The car reached around 3:19 at this parking right here next to the Red Fort at around 3:19 p.m. or in the 3:19 in the afternoon. This is in fact the parking where this car was parked for almost 3 hours, and post that at around 3:20 to 22 this car actually left from this particular spot and reached to its final destination, which is near the Digambar temple, the particular red light where that blast actually took place, claiming over 9 lives, where that particular sinister plot was completely executed. 9 people lost their lives at least, and many of them were left injured.
Tracing that entire 12-hour journey that this car had. The car is HR26C7674, the car that blasted off just before 7 p.m. on Monday evening. There you can see a huge plume of smoke and fire, and of course nearby cars getting burnt and damaged in the process, people getting killed. What he found, Ananya, 2 days after, is that an entire route of 12 hours, including 3 hours in the parking lot at outside the Red Fort metro station, there's no visible amp up of security. So how seriously are we taking something that happened in Delhi just 2 days ago? And that too, this is the first time in over 10 years. In fact, the last big attack in Delhi was in 2011 at the Delhi High Court. I want to go across to our panelists, to our guests who are joining us. Gopal Agarwal is national spokesperson of the BJP. Dr. Ajay Kumar, national spokesperson of the Congress Party. Yashwardhan Azad, former IPS officer and special director with the IB, is also joining us. Mr. Agarwal, let me start with you first. I mean, it's bad enough that this car, after the Faridabad module got busted early in the morning on Monday, at 7:15 a.m. it crosses, is driving through the heart of Delhi from Connaught Place to ITO to Mayur Vihar through the DND. 12 different locations it's spotted on CCTV camera, and then 3 hours in the parking lot of Red Fort metro station, and there was no visible amp up of security either on that day or even today, 2 days later, as our reporter found.
The government is taking all cognizance of what is there, and this is also, we are seeing that this was because of the panic that they thought that they will be tracked. So this is a sorry state, but the government had been active. The module was being tracked, and in Gujarat also the module was tracked. In Faridabad, you yourself report says that they were being tracked, and the RDX was that explosive chemicals found out, and they were connected. But it's a difficult situation, difficult issues, and when there are people involved, domestic, when they have their sleeper cells, etc., it becomes difficult. But the government is tracking very seriously the investigation agencies. This is because of the pressure of the government agencies, because of the pressure that they were being tracked very closely. They had in a panic came to this situation. So the government is now further taking all NIA investigation, IB, everybody is looking into it, and I think it's for all of us to look into this serious matter.
Dr. Ajay Kumar, so the contention of the government has been that, look, the bust up that happened in Faridabad, where these guys were caught with 2,900 kilograms of explosives, they were planning something far worse, far more sinister, far more deadly, and it's because of the agencies getting there in time and busting up that module that Delhi was saved from perhaps serial blasts or something certainly of a much bigger magnitude than what we saw on Monday evening.
So, Zaka, there are little time, but there are 3 issues which are 2 primary issues. One is political, which I'll come to, and one is which is on the terrorism aspect. On the political issue, You have the Home Minister is a full-time job, and National Secretary is a top priority, Agarwal sahab. But our Home Minister is only campaigning 4 months in Bihar. You tell me which country will have this kind of seriousness to terror if we keep tom-tomming that Mr. Amit Shah is serious. His seriousness is only in winning elections or fighting elections. It's not on national security because he was never in Delhi. The second issue is I feel our Prime Minister should not have gone to Bhutan for the simple reason the message which goes down is. And they might criticize us and, point fingers at us. But when Mr. Manmohan Singh, when the 26/11 happened, he went to each and everybody who were injured in the hospital. And that's what we expect from the Prime Minister. He cancelled, there was an election in Delhi, he cancelled those meetings. And that's what we had expected from our Prime Minister. But the Prime Minister happily tweeted and then went to Bhutan.
Today he came back and he met the injured in the hospital.
Yes, Zaka, boss.
Government was in action
Yeah,
immediately.
one second, can I complete, sir? Agarwal, sir, let me complete. No, I don't interrupt you. Saka, please stop interrupting me. I mean, give me a chance. Okay, I'm just putting it in a perspective. Whether he came back or not is not the issue. He shouldn't have gone. The third most important point is the National Security Advisor has been maybe a very successful person, and he has been definitely. But he's 80-year-old now. Mr. Shah doesn't even call for the meeting. I mean, and rightfully so that he has served the nation. But even James Bond is from 1968 to 2025. There have been 7 new James Bonds. So we need to very clear extension after extension to the senior officials who are manning the the critical post in this government. It's only an extension government. It's a geriatric. Zaka, please understand this, very important, and please mull over it. And you can do a government is geriatric in terms of the extension, CBI extension. Everybody's on extension, but now I like which the government is trying to put a narrative that they panicked and all. They didn't panic. A gentleman called Mr. Chakravarti was antenna went up thinking that why are these Jaish-e-Mohammed's posters all over? Investigation went to unraveling. So you had an SP who didn't have an intelligence input, who went and inquired into it, and that investigation of Jammu and Kashmir police went to unraveling. You need to understand this. So where is this competence of this government? So disabuse yourself.
Okay, so let Mr. Agarwal respond. You're saying it's sheer providence, it's sheer good fortune that there was I think an SHO in Naugam, and coincidence or sheer luck that we managed to avert a much bigger. Agarwal respond, then I'll go to Mr. Azad after that.
The level of terrorist attack.
No, you've laid out a whole bunch of political attacks. Let him respond to it. Yeah.
The thing is, we have to understand that the level of terrorist attack over the last 11 years have come down drastically. The response of the government to the terrorist attacks and the measures to counter that from the cross-border infiltrations, etc., have been remarkable. We have been fighting strongly about the Naxal issues. The government has been going to the root cause of where the terrorists are getting their support. Their financial network is being disseminated, and they even the issues about the Kashmir, which was the people were getting educated, their sleeper cells have been detected. The government is doing things, and you see the remarkable difference where terrorist attacks were handled under the UPA government and under the NDA government, our government. It's a remarkable difference. The countermeasures are strong enough. The whole
I want to now shift focus aspect of what happened on Monday, and I'll ask Mr. Azad about this. The concerning aspect is this, that previously, at least certainly when it comes to terrorism associated with Kashmir, there was always this narrative that these are poor people, impoverished people, people who diverted into this because this is a means of economic activity for them, so on and so forth. But the idea that highly educated medical professionals, in the case of Dr. Umar Nabi, he happened to be one of the toppers of the medical exam in Jammu and Kashmir state. Same is the case with this Dr. Shaheen, who is a resident of Lucknow, who grew up in Kanpur, again a topper in one of the medical exams. Many of these people come from extremely well-to-do families and they are doctors. They've taken the Hippocrates oath. They are supposed to be saviors of life, not destroyers of life. What is it that made them? Is it an ideology? Is it brainwashing? What is it that made them take up something like terrorism? So there is a common connection here. There is a person named Maulvi Irfan. He was the local Maulvi in a mosque there in just outside Srinagar, I believe somewhere. Yeah, in Pulwama. Now, he is supposedly the man who brainwashed and indoctrinated all of these doctors. One of them who died on Monday, who was a suicide bomber on Monday, and then the others who were arrested when this Faridabad terror module was busted by the police. Now, this Maulvi, he was arrested from Shopian, and it led to a deeper web of this radicalization and online propaganda, which is much more discreet than anything that the police have seen in the past. So these key actors, so Dr. Umar Nabi, who is the suspected suicide bomber who was behind the wheels of that I-20, again, qualified doctor, one of the toppers in the state of Jammu and Kashmir in the medical exam. Dr. Muzammil Ahmed, who was arrested again in connection to the Faridabad module. Cops had seized more than 2,900 kilograms of explosives from one of the warehouses which he had leased out. Then there is Dr. Shaheen Shahid, the lady doctor from Lucknow who was arrested in Lucknow, believed to be one of the financiers of this module. They also recovered some weapons from one of her cars. There's a second car which was said to be that of Dr. Umar Nabi. That too has been apprehended. We don't know what was there in the second car, but in the first car, allegedly, she had ferried weapons for Dr. Muzammil. And then there is Dr. Adil, who was involved in putting up Jaish posters. This is what Dr. Ajay Kumar said a moment ago. It was these posters and a couple of alert cops that first led to the tip-off around this Faridabad module. This person, Adil, was arrested from Saharanpur with a huge catch of arms and Azad, people are calling this white-collar jihad, doctors of death. How do such highly qualified people, those who have taken the oath to protect and save lives, how can they do this?
Okay, Zaka, before I get into the de-radicalization part of it, permit me to answer your two questions which have and that's an excellent thing which you have raised, that this vehicle traveled 60 kilometers, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then entered Delhi, was meandering around for so many hours, and then finally created that is in a very sensitive location at 6:58 in a crowd, which is exactly what every terrorist would want. Recovery has taken place for 2,900 kgs. The man has been named. He ran away in panic, so he was already in panic. But the police in the nakas, etc., should have been alerted. So there was a possibility that this guy could have been apprehended. That's number one. Number two, if also in Delhi, if you have a gadi, which is a vehicle which is, hanging around for these so many hours, then maybe a smart control room, AI enabled, could have been able to track something. So these are some things, questions which have been asked. But whether a panic attack or whether it was a terrorist attack, because it's killed 11 people and 26 are all injured, and exactly to the T it has gone. Your question about radicalization. Yes, this is the most sinister and one of the most dangerous modules that we have seen. As far radicalization goes, remember, Zaka, and you've been covering that also, in the ISIS campaign, they were luring even the educated people on the internet. And there were people who were going from Kerala, who went there, died in the battlefields of the ISIS, and some of them ran away and came back. And during their interrogation, we found out how they were lured, how they were indoctrinated through there was a persistent kind of a luring which was going on, incentives being given, and that is how they were indoctrinated. This is extremely dangerous because it has reached the level of the doctors who have not only been a traitor nation, but traitors to their own occupation too. And that Maulvi over there who indoctrinated them and was going on, because indoctrination is not because of few cassettes of Zakir Naik here and there. It needs a persistent kind of, drumming in, and so that the indoctrination takes place. But this indoctrination is not only there, it has also reached UP, and I think they are also tracing out some of the Maulvis over there.
But tell me, Mr. Azad, these are people who are living with their family members, they're living with their friends. I believe all these four of them worked in a private university in Faridabad, just on the outskirts of the national capital. And this has obviously been built up over a period of time. 2,900 explosive is a lot of explosive.
Absolutely.
How come nobody, none of these people, their antennas went up in the university? Nobody knew about this?
In fact, this is the next thing which I was coming to, that if you remember Zaka, even the 9/11 attack, there were these software engineers, there were these, aeronautical engineers being trained in Germany, and there were these pilots who attacked the World Trade Center. In this particular case, of course, some of the neighbors were aware of what exactly was happening in Fala, whatever that institute is. Of course,
yeah.
but they chose to, stand away. And there was a kind of an ecosystem. Mind you, Zaka, we still have to look into the entire university, what they were doing in their labs, how they were operating through that home. And incidentally, by the way, when the investigations are going on, there's a whole web, the couriers, the runners, from the chemical signature, the sellers, the dealers. So these are all the issues which have been maybe after investigation, you'll be able to find a kind of an ecosystem which was favoring them.
No, this is a matter of grave concern. I well in life are influenced by this kind of brainwashing, this kind of brainwashed, twisted ideology to not just take their own lives but kill other people in the process.
Yes.
And frankly, I don't know what is the antidote to it. Gopal Agarwal, at some level, of course, the buck will stop with the government. The government was not able to stop it, and the police were not able to stop all of that. No, those are the most pattern where educated engineers and doctors and God knows who else is getting indoctrinated in this fashion. Then that is something that should be deeply worrisome.
Surely, Raka, you have raised a very important this ecosystem is working in this. There are stakeholders in this, those are working in this. We have to look into the political side of it. When you talked about there was a victimhood card who wanted some people, or even political class or urban Naxals, those were called, they were giving a cover to the whole terrorist activity. It is a financing mechanism. There is issues about the cross-border support to the terrorism. There is a political narratives which supports this kind of, gives a political cover to their activities, and it us into the working of the investigation. When a government stops the foreign funding to different organizations and NGOs and other think tanks in the name of think tanks, NGOs, etc., camouflaging the flow of money to these organizations, there is a big political outcry at that point of time.
I believe started off as a sometime in the last 10 years they managed to get a medical college license. They are now a university.
They must have been being financed by certain sources. And those sources were getting a social cover in the
three out of the four faculty members, three out of the four doctors who were arrested, and including the one who died, 3 out of the 4 of them were employed in this university. The explosive material traces back to the labs. This university has come into light, into focus. The campus, the funding, the governance, how do they get their medical university license? All of this is coming into focus because post facto, after this whole thing happened. I mean, the point, Dr. Ajay Kumar, and you've been a cop, you know, that was your primary vocation, that was your primary occupation. How does one deal with this when doctors start, you know, becoming radicalized and are willing to blow people up in the name of a twisted idea? What is the antidote to it? What is the solution to this?
No, one thing. Look, we need to tone down the rhetoric. No, see, as a government, you know, and I keep saying it. How do you create an environment of antagonism between communities? And we need to, I mean, Islamic terrorism is a reality, like what Yashwadhanji said, and even Agarwal said, that it's such is all the time the Prime Minister says Guspati in Bihar, and they got Guspati's got into all these people infiltrated Delhi. No, my question again is when you raise the temperature here in communities, even something so innocuous like that cricketer girl Jemima. I mean, if you keep othering the other community, because 99.9% are not involved. 0.01% are involved. Where will the intelligence come from? And Yashwadhanji has been in the spent a remarkably successful career in the police. Where will the intelligence come from? It will come from that community, right? How would you know that somebody has hired a storeroom? How would you know it? And issue is, unless you tone down this rhetoric, as a government, that's your responsibility because it doesn't take you, and you need to get information from it. The second issue is obviously there is a network which they're working on. The educated people are working on. It's scary because they're smarter. They can move around. They can travel. They can be incognito. Also, those are challenges for sure. That's the next level of. But I fundamentally that the intelligence setup, a small suggestion to all of us is there was something which Mr. Chidambaram proposed was the national counter. At that time in the parliament, I was there when the BJP opposed it. They can take credit for it, but you need to create NCTC across India because if you have a specialized organization within the intelligence bureau or anything else, you have the national counter-terrorism centers across. You have a focused approach on homebound terrorism.
Okay.
The most important thing, and we'll continue to, and we are guilty, they are guilty, the unaccountability of the intelligence services. The parliament, no, you keep saying you're 56-inch, sir, so I request you, intelligence services through a in-camera discussion with the parliamentary committee, in-camera discussion, the accountability of the intelligence services everywhere in the world, in all democracies across, which we respect, England, Germany, United States, France, every intelligence services need to be accountable. When you put the pressure and ask questions, make them accountable. And
No,
that
I
is
think you have a
missing.
point. I
And we
mean,
are